Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Scream Draft Day. For those of you who are waiting for a draft day last month, this was going to be the draft day. It got postponed to this month. So this month's draft day that we're going to do, I'm going to push to next month. So you're going to get 2 draft days next month, I promise. But we're making up for lost time with our Scream-themed draft day in the middle of the summer, because why not? Horror movies can be enjoyed any time of the year. But joining me, I have some great panelists, so I'll introduce them one at a time. First, I have Matt, who dies in the cold open. Spoiler alert. Matt Chapmond, how's it going, Matt?
I'm great. It's an important distinction that I die in the cold open, but I am not the big death in the cold open. I'm not that important. I'm the Steve to the Casey in this case.
Gotcha. You're in the movie theater. You're just not Jada Pinkett Smith. Got it. So joining us for the first time ever on draft day, he's been a great friend of the show, but we've never got him on a actual Scream or on an actual draft day stream before. And we're very happy to have him. It is Commentatoring Nerd. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk about Scream.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Yeah. And lastly, I have 2 guests. They're both coming from the same abode, and they have another guest joining us. Their guest that they're bringing with them will not be drafting, but they will be a presence for, I guess, emotional support, maybe offering us a few screams of their own. We have Chad and Kerri. Chad has fallen asleep. What's up, Chad?
New parent. It's fine. It's fine. We'll be fine.
I was gonna say, let me put you up here for a sec. Do you want to introduce our newest guest to the show and our first time Dyl Pickle Movie Network introduction, please?
Go ahead, Kerri.
Oh, this is Elliot.
He's a baby.
Yeah, he's a month old now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Month old now. So I don't know if you want to put like a little heart around him and post or something.
Oh, I love that. Welcome to the show, Elliot, and welcome, Chad and Kerri. Thank you for doing this. I know we postponed this because the day we were gonna film it last month, I believe was the day Elliot was at least on his way. That we were like, y'all were ready to go.
I was admitted to the hospital to have.
There you go. So we obviously had to push this for good reason, and we're very happy to have both of you on as horror experts. I know all of us are fans of the Scream movies. We've all seen them all, obviously. So I think it's time to get right into the draft. So let me explain the rules.
Fun fact, real quick. Just real quick, and this is absolutely true. If Elliot were to get a draft pick, he would still definitely beat me.
Maybe Elliot, since there are 6 movies, maybe Elliot could get like the honorary 6th one that doesn't get picked or something. And we'll see if he happens to win the draft by that alone. So here are the rules for the Scream draft. Here we go.
Welcome to the Scream draft. This draft will be snaked. Whoever has the 5th pick in the first round will have the first pick of the second round, and so on. You must draft 1 cold open, 1 death scene that isn't from a cold open, 1 ghost face reveal, 1 legacy character, and 1 new character from the recent films. If you disagree with a pick, you can veto it, but be warned, 3 others must agree with you to successfully veto. Enough talking. It's time for the draft to begin.
Well, there you have it. There's our introduction to the rules. Some other voice decided to read the rules for us today. Don't know what that was. So how the draft will work is exactly how our friend over there said it would work. But we do have to spin a wheel to decide who is going to get the first pick, second pick, third pick, 4th pick, and 5th pick, because this is a snake draft, as our friend Ghostface did tell us. So I'm going to write everyone's names here on a wheel, which I should have gotten prepped before the show, considering I got on here an hour early anyway. All right, here we go. So all 5 of our names are here in the wheel. Let's see who's going to get the first pick of their position. Shoot.
Rigged.
It's. I promise it's not rigged.
Rigged.
You saw me literally put in the names as I went.
It's gonna go 5.
We saw you typing something. We didn't see you not
I was typing
cheating.
everyone's names. Here, I'll spin it again.
No.
I'll spin it again. I'm yielding my pick. Kerri, you are gonna get the pick. Do you want first, second, third, fourth, or 5th?
Oh my gosh, you should go first.
Yeah, you go first, Dylan.
please
We're
go
not.
first.
You heard that. We were joking.
Well,
We're
the way it
joking.
goes is I have to remove their names from the list. So I will go first overall. Kerri, where would you like to go?
I'll go second.
All right, Kerri's gonna go second, which means my name is not on the wheel anymore. Cause, yeah. All right, Nerd. Would you like to go?
I'll go third.
All right, so Nerd's gonna go third. So it's between Chad and Matt for fourth.
No Amos.
Oh, he's going before me. That's for certain. Look at it. Look at this. Yeah.
All right, Chad. Would you like to go fourth or fifth?
I'll do the fifth back to back.
All right, which means Matt is going to be fourth. So I also have to put my whiteboard because I have to write all these down because I got to make a graphic afterwards. You'd think I'd be more prepared for this. All right, so I'm going to start us off. I know it has been a little while. I'm going to start us off. As I said, or as the Ghostface said, we do get, obviously, one cold open, one death scene that's not from a cold open, one legacy character, one new character, and one Ghostface reveal. And just to clarify for anyone listening, we all know, but just to clarify for everyone listening, the Ghostface reveal is like, if the Ghostface is 4 people or if it's 1 person, you get the whole reveal. Like, so the killer reveal of who was Ghostface, whether it's 2 people, 4 people, whatever. That's not where I'm going to go. I'm going to go cold open because I feel like the cold opens are all so good that I'd be happy with any of them. But I want to take the one that's most personal to me that I like the best, which is probably not even the number 1 pick for cold open. There's probably a predictable like favorite out there, but
there's
I'm going to pick
on this. Yeah,
I'm going to pick the cold open from Scream 2 because I love the it introduces the whole like stab is a film within a film franchise idea. Jada Pinkett Smith does a great job in that scene, kind of acting nonchalant and then realizing, slowly clicking that things are going wrong, and then you have the unpredictability of the Ghostface in the theater, which ones are real Ghostface, which ones are fake Ghostface. Like, I love it all, and it kind of has made me scared to go to movie theaters sometimes because of it, which I think is also effective. Like, if I'm home alone at night, I feel like I'm okay, but if I'm at a movie theater with a big crowd, I get more scared that way because of Scream, more so than the first or 4th Scream scares me or 5th Scream, whatever cold opens happen in a house. They scare me. This one scares me more. So I'm going Scream 2 cold open.
Wow.
It may not be the popular pick, but it is my favorite pick. Any thoughts on the cold open there?
Yeah, Dylan, this is like pretty much my favorite one. So this would have probably been the one. I was like debating whether I go with the OG or I go with this one. I thought you were going to go with the later one because there's a certain actress I know you love, but I'm glad you picked this one because I do think this one is also a 1-1 pick. It's the big. I won't say better, but it is the bigger one, and I feel like Jada Pinkett is doing like some prestige acting there, and she really sells that kill, I think, more than the original does, to be honest. So, the whole scene, just all the setup is just really incredible. And you even get a little bit of the OG in this scene as well with the movie that's on the screen.
True.
And stab.
Yeah, it's a twofer. I didn't even think of that element. I was like, so technically,
Well, I've debated for this scene a lot in debate. Like, this is like one of the best. So
there you go.
I'm incredibly surprised that that you went with this. Honestly, just because I think we all know what the understood 1-1 is for this, but and if it gets to me, I'm going to be completely shocked. It's not getting to me, I'm certain. But for this one, I do like this. It has there is a cheesiness to it that has made it go down a little bit in my book over the years, but I still love it. I still remember the way that I felt when I saw it the first time. Like, oh my God, she's sitting next to Ghostface and doesn't know it. Like, I think it's genius that blending in, hiding in plain sight because everybody's wearing face masks, like that she's wearing a Ghostface mask. I think it's brilliant. There is how the Ghostface know where his ear is in that stall, but we can overlook that because we're talking Scream physics, not real physics, so it's fine.
Exactly.
But that blood curdling scream, it hits me different depending on when I'm watching it. Sometimes I'm like, gosh, that's so good, and so it evokes like a classic horror feel, and sometimes I'm like, that feels cheesy, but most of the time I love it. So I think it's a good pick.
There you go.
I have written down this as my second favorite opening, so I'm with you guys on this is one of the better openings. I am very surprised though that you picked it over others.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie theater setup is just really cool. It's hard to beat like all the stuff they do with movie theaters in this whole movie, let alone like this opening scene. I just like how they pay respect to that within Scream 2 from the beginning.
Oh yeah,
Cool.
and it happens in my sanctuary. Like that's my
Right.
special safe place, and it
Yeah.
happens in that. Like that does add to it for me as well.
Yeah, like if I were to direct a horror scene from a slasher, like I would set it in a movie theater because it's like the most familiar playground to me, you know. So yeah, for sure. Kerri, any thoughts on the Scream 2 opening?
Yeah, this also was like my second choice. I think it's fantastic, and like Chad said, like Jada Pinkett Smith is giving her all in this Scream 2 like one-shot opening performance, and it's really fantastic.
I think it's the best acted death in the entire series. So yeah.
There you go. All right, so Kerri, it is your pick. For now, you have the whole board open to you.
Yeah.
Oh, let me open
I'm gonna
her.
go with the one
There you go.
Dylan didn't pick. I'm gonna go with Cold Open, and I'll go with Scream, the original. I think, like we've alluded to, it's just completely iconic. It like set off such, I think, a fire to the first movie and to the entire franchise. And it I don't know, it's just so terrifying. Like Drew Barrymore is acting in it is so fantastic. And I know it has like just the right amount of like blood and gore and cutaways, and you know I don't know, like it's so terrifying that she's like murdered right there and her parents are right there, and it's horrifying and like tragic. And that end shot is just like a classic. It's such a, I don't know, it's perfect, I think.
Yeah, Elliot agrees. It seems.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, we've actually talked about this scene several times on this show, just because of how great it is. It's been drafted before, and I've talked about, as the resident old person here, I've talked about how when this movie came out, that was the only scene that was the only part we really saw in the trailer, was Casey Becker answering the phone and hearing and having that initial conversation. And then the poster is just a picture of Drew Barrymore's face close up, doing like the scared face. And so that was how they were selling this movie, was that she was the main character. So the fact that they killed her immediately in the first movie, I love that Drew Barrymore originally was brought in to read for Sydney, but chose to play Casey Becker because she said that if once I die, they know that no one is safe. And that's completely true. Like, they caught us off guard with that. I mean, it does evoke, it's a cold open to a slasher, so you expect someone to die, but at that point, we did not expect Drew Barrymore to be the one. In retrospect, we always do now. Right. Back then, we did not. So it's genius, and I love it. It's my favorite. It was my number one. I'm very upset I don't have it.
I'd say, Nerd, was it your number one as well? I know you said the other.
I mean, it's one of it's my favorite opening. It's one of the best scenes in movie history, period. Let alone openings, let alone Scream openings. It's hard to beat the opening of this movie. It's just iconic for so many reasons. It changed the way movies were advertised and just subverting expectations, that sort of thing. Like, this whole movie is about that sort of. Or running with expectations, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, Scream is definitely defined by this scene.
For sure. Chad, any thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. Like everybody said, iconic, changed the game. It's like a lot of the openings of other Scream films and other films are kind of like parodying a little bit, or like homaging this one. So yeah, it's definitely iconic. Love it for sure. What else can I say? I mean, it is the cold open, right? Yeah, just it set the whole, what's your favorite scary movie thing, and that's just like so iconic in itself. So and everything else. So yeah, amazing.
There you go. I forgot that
But-
before we did this, I was going to ask everyone what their favorite scary movie was as I introduced you all, and then I got sidetracked because the baby was so cute. So,
can do it now.
well, at the end,
Yeah, we
we'll close.
We can do
Yeah.
it now.
We'll close. Okay, fine.
Alright.
Since we're on the cold open, we'll do it now. My favorite scary movie is Jaws. Chad, what is your favorite scary movie?
Come back to me. I gotta think.
Okay, Kerri, do you want me to come back to you too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Matt,
It's same as Casey Becker's Halloween.
there you go, and Nerd.
I was prepared for this question. I have my letterbox list up, but so my favorite scary movie is Alien. But that's a little bit more sci-fi. Then it's this Scream. And Poltergeist is third. So I'll give you a few there. But
Alien and Jaws are like in my top 5 as well. Like,
Yeah.
when I'm asked this question, I kind of compartmentalize them a little bit more differently. But Halloween is definitely my favorite,
There you go.
strictly for scary movie purposes.
All right, Webbs, do you have your answers?
Yeah, I'll go,
You
and then
please
I'll
go
let Kerri.
first.
Yeah.
It's a
You
loaded
guys
question.
picked like 3 phenomenal movies. I was debating saying Halloween. I'm gonna let Matt have that one, and I'll go different. I'll say Scream.
There you
Why
go.
not? All right.
Kerri?
I don't know what to go
It doesn't
with.
matter. The Shining.
It might be Dr. Sleep.
Oh, hell yeah. I love that.
Ooh.
Nice.
I feel
Nice.
like
Love
it's
that.
too recent to be like, but currently I think it's my favorite.
That's the best.
There you go.
And without repeating, what's already been said. Like Halloween.
Right, yeah.
Director's cut too, right?
Yeah, director's cut, yeah.
There you go. Gotta love Flanagan. All right. So, Commentating Nerd, you are up first. Would you like another cold open, or you can have the first pick of any of the other categories?
Okay. So I'm gonna be going from original cast. But I have a dilemma because I thought one of these would be picked already.
Okay.
And so I'm debating between like what should be the pick and who my basically spirit animal is as far as characters in the Scream franchise. And I think I'm actually just gonna go with like, I don't know, iconic versus just me. Like a character that reflects me. I guess I'm gonna go with Dewey from the original
Nice.
from Legacy cast. Dewey's my pick for round 1.
Nice. Yeah. That's. I mean, it's a solid pick. There are a lot of good heavy hitters there. Yeah, that's a good pick.
Dewey is my number 2 on my list. I imagine my number 1 is the other one you were trying to decide between. So I'm glad you picked Dewey.
Right. But yeah, sorry, just Dewey's just the way he is like that's the way I am in life. Just this awkward person who tries to be like do the right thing and help people and whatever, but always kind of seems to like trip over things and be clumsy but he means well, and I don't know. I just love it. So that's
Love
Dewey
that.
for me.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that little personal connection to Dewey. Dewey's my 1-1. He's my favorite character in the whole franchise. So that was going to be my pick, but I'm glad Nerd got him because he's got a personal connection to him. So cool. Love him.
Nice. Cool. Any other thoughts on Dewey? Cool. All right. So Matt, I believe, is next. Yeah, Matt's next with your first pick. Matt, are you going to go with the other one that you thought Nerd was going to go with, or are you going to go with another cold open or something completely different?
I'm so nervous about some of these. I didn't think I would. I knew I wasn't going to get Casey Becker, but now like the rest of them are like I have to get one of these. Like, not for cold opens, but just for in general. But I still might go with my cold open because I think my other ones are safe against Chad, and I have another pick after him. So, and if I'm wrong, I'm going to leave the stream.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with cold. I'm gonna go with my cold open.
All right.
And I love Scream cold opens. They're all I love all of them for different reasons. My second favorite though is actually surprising when I sat down to write it out because I thought it would be one of the legacy ones after my favorite is Casey Becker, obviously. I thought my favorite was going to be one of the legacy ones, but it wasn't. It ended up being Tara Carpenter in Scream 2022.
Oh, so you're taking that for your cold open. Nice.
I'm taking that for my cold open. Tara Carpenter's attack in and the reason is because not only does it sets the tone incredibly well for this new generation of stories by mentioning the different types of horror and how people feel about horror also during their conversation, which is a lot of what they did in the first one. They're redoing that just under a modern lens, which I absolutely love. The fact that she doesn't die, which is the only time in the Scream franchise where the person doesn't die in the cold open. I love that. And then she becomes a character. I thought once we saw this, I was like, okay, so she's the opening. This is no longer going to be a character anymore. And the fact that she's now one of the main characters, I think is great. Also, the way they integrated the new technology and kind of with like the unlocking it from the thing and the using a video, sending a video, and using text and
using
pretending there through
technology,
using the technology to freshen it and update it and make it feel like Scream while also feeling brand new. It really set the tone for this new thing, and that's why it's my number 2, that's why it's my pick.
Yeah, and it references some great horror movies, some good like unconventional classics too. And does she name drop Letterboxd in it, or is that not till the next one?
She Letterboxd is name dropped in that movie. I don't know if she mentions it.
Yeah, I was gonna say because it's such a meta thing. Because Letterboxd wasn't even the thing when Scream 4 came out, let alone So, any other thoughts on the cold open from Scream 5? I'm just gonna call it Scream 5 for the sake of distinguishing.
Yeah, I mean, Jenna Ortega. I'm not like on the mega hype that was Jenna Ortega, but like rewatching the scene, I think it just gets better and better. It's definitely like an instant classic. I think, even though she doesn't die, after that scene, just like it's so well acted. I love how she brings in the whole conversation about elevated horror, naming, movies that she loves or that she could talk about, but she doesn't know this random movie from the 90s that everybody seems to love and stuff. So, it's just really incredible setup for character. So.
Yeah, and it also, and just if I could mention more about that, the fact that she keeps mentioning this elevated horror and talking about how the types of horror that she likes, and inadvertently she doesn't realize this is feeding the motivation of Richie and Amber, who love this thing and want studios to stop messing with this thing. So. Yeah, I think that's also kind of a brilliant piece to it that you kind of don't realize when you first watch it.
Right. Any other thoughts, Nerd?
I have a lot of issues with Scream 5 in general. I've been pretty vocal about that around the internet and whatever. But as far as the cold open goes, this is definitely one of the better ones, just because of Jenna Ortega. Really, she kind of recreates the feeling of like the original phone call in Scream 1, but just a little bit more updated, and just an equally talented actress in that role. So I don't know, that part works really well. So no complaints on this opening.
Cool. Kerri, any thoughts?
Yeah, it is one of the better cold opens, I think. Although actually I love them all thinking about them. But it is really fantastic. I love that it kind of subverts expectations by, she does actually survive. And then I think, like Matt said, it's just so funny when she's like pulling up the IMDb page to, figure out the answers to the questions and everything. It's a really cool twist on that original phone call.
Yeah, cool. All right, so Chad, you're up now with 2 picks back to back, and there's 3 cold opens off the board, 1 legacy character, but everything else is wide open for you.
Well, I want to piggyback off something Kerri said real quick. Googling stuff during trivia is a big no-no, but if your life is at stake, it's okay. Just want to throw that out there. All right. I'm gonna go with Ghost Face reveal, because this is like my real 1-1 pick that, you know, I was like, I have to have this. If I would have gotten to go number 1, this is what I would have picked. I'm going to go for the classic Scream Ghostface reveal with Billy and Stu. Two
That
of my
was
favorite
if
characters.
not my number 1. That was my number 2 overall. Yeah.
You know, Stu is like maybe one of my favorite characters, or one. I'm not trying to reveal. I don't know. Did you say we could pick dead people for Legacy?
Oh yeah, sure.
Wide open.
As long as they
We
leave
would
an
have
impact
to.
on the
I meant
There's
like
only
like dead in like the one movie. I don't know,
okay.
or
I
maybe
gotcha.
he is. Maybe he isn't. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I picked this one because, you know, just like the original cold open from Scream is iconic. This is also very iconic. You know, you thought Billy was dead and then he shows up and you're kind of confused. Like a lot of the red herring stuff they're doing in that film is like incredible. And then when he shows up and, you know, you're like, you know, oh, okay, because he's kind of been cleared at that point, at least in Sydney's mind and the audience's mind. And then, but you're still a little bit like wary of him. And then he shows up and then he, you know, reveals we all go a little mad sometimes kind of deal. Starts, you know, quoting a lot of stuff and showing that he loves horror movies. That's where he got a lot of his ideas. And then she runs straight into Stu Macher, and then he's like, surprise, Sydney, with the voice changer. And I just think it's so well executed. She's dumbfounded. Like it's kind of obvious if you watch it again, but it's not obvious the first time you watch it that those two are just always together. And then you're just like, well, of course they're probably just those two that are always together. But I just think when they change, it's like of course, okay, and it's just amazing. And then just everything from there is just really incredible with them. And it's just, you know, you have the crazy ghost face that's just like crazy in the sadistic kind of way, who has the real motivation, and then you have the really crazy who's like kind of dumb that just goes, it's just peer pressure, man, kind of guy. So, you know, I love the two sides of the coin there. It's just a perfect, like, you know, 2-man killer team. And yeah, I just love both those characters, love this movie, love that Ghostface reveal. It's the best, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely the number 1 reveal, I think, for me. And it was, like I was saying earlier, my number 2 overall after the Scream 2 cold open. Like if I couldn't get that first overall, this is what I wanted first overall. It's a great pick. And also, I think we take for granted nowadays, but like I think a big part of the surprise is that it is 2 people to begin with. The fact that it's not just one killer, it's 2. You know, that was huge and revolutionary, where now we look back on it and we're like, oh, it's always going to be 2, to where in one of the movies when it's only 1, that's more of a surprise that it's only one person. Whereas now it's like, back then, like it was never even thought of that it could be 2 different people. And then, you know, at the end you're like, oh wait, it is 2, because of the whole fake out death thing and all that. So yeah, it's such a good pick. Any other thoughts on Stu and Billy?
This was obviously my number 1 Ghostface reveal as well. It's really high up there on my list here, but I love Billy and Stu. Like Chad, Stu is one of my favorites in this, favorite characters in this whole franchise. And Billy is such a menacing, like the perfect boyfriend bad guy character. Like they're both perfect for their role, and I absolutely love it. The reveal is great because not only do you think that because of the fake out death, but this is where you get the motivation involving movies that really breaks it. This is where it really breaks down into, well, besides Randy giving the rules, it reveals that they've been doing this based on their own set of rules for movies, and and it really, I don't know, I just really love the meta commentary that for what they are talking about. Also, when Stu is being stabbed, or after Stu has been stabbed, and he says, "My mom and dad are be so mad at me," is one of my favorite parts in any movie ever. Yeah, so I love this reveal. It's incredible.
Yeah, I guess in some ways this is the least surprising reveal, just because Billy is clearly a serial killer from like moment one of the movie. But it's the way that the two of them play this scene that makes this the best reveal. It like even though you are pretty sure that Billy's one of them, you are surprised by Stu, and then just the way they play this scene, like you guys said, Stu is just as manic as he's ever been in the movie, and Billy is even more menacing than he's been prior, and it just works so well. So yeah.
There you go. Yep. Kerri, any
Let's
thoughts on
face
this?
I was just gonna say, let's face it, Sydney. Your mother was no Sharon Stone.
No Sharon Stone.
Yeah, this
I wasn't gonna do that.
yeah, this was my number one as well. I think, like you said, Dylan, you don't think about the fact that at least the first time I watched this movie too, to have it be two killers is like mind blowing. To have Billy be one of them after, his death is faked. And then the whole entire scene up until from the reveal till the end of the film is just fantastic.
Yeah.
Can I just honorable mention a reveal, which is that when Tori Spelling reveals who the killer is in the junket interview in Scream 3 before anybody's seen the movie. That's insane that she spoils the movie during an interview and no one says anything.
Oh, I did not even realize.
She says, I play a girl whose boyfriend is a serial killer.
Wow.
That's great. I was gonna say, Chad, that may just be, even though it's round one, the steal of the draft. I really do think it could be, because I think also in that category, that's like the clear one, whereas other ones, I think you could have like one or two different ones. But for reveals, like that feels like the essential one. But you do get another pick now, round two. Pick one, Chad. It's back to you because we are snaking this draft. What would you like next?
Yeah, I mean, I've been debating this. I'm kind of like on Nerd's level. Like, what do I go with right now? Like, I have so many I could go with, but I think I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna go with one of the killers that I picked from my Ghostface reveal for legacy character, but I'm gonna get my legacy character now. There are so many that are so great, so I feel like this is kind of a deep-ish category. But I'm gonna go with one of my favorites. I say second, but it's kind of like a three-way tie here for three characters I love. I'm gonna go with Randy. I think Randy is okay.
Oh,
that was a good
damn it! That was my number
That was a
one.
good steal.
I thought it would get back to me because I was like, everyone's gonna take like the big ones first, but damn it!
No, Randy is a big one in my opinion. I'm sure you guys agree. Randy is. I don't know. I don't want to say the heart because Dewey's the heart, but like Randy's like the brains and the, just I don't know, just the I'm not finding a good word here, but the guide.
Randy is the storyteller. Randy's the storyteller.
There you go. And yeah, he's just like he's a great like red herring in the first one a lot. But then he explains the rules, such an iconic scene that they keep playing over and over and over in other movies now. Like the new ones, they have like a different person playing Randy, and it's you can see just how great Jamie Kennedy was in that role because I know they're going silly in the Stab whatever they're doing there, the first Stab movie. But yeah, like he reads the rules, the whole behind you Jamie kind of deal, and his name's Jamie. There's just so much with that role that's just so incredible. And even in the sequel, you get a lot of really great stuff with him in film school. And that's one of my biggest issues with Scream 2. I think everything else is perfect to me because I love that movie, but I just wish they hadn't killed Randy. Like I think the whole shock thing that they do to, even Kevin Williamson has said, I kind of wish I didn't kill Randy off. I don't think it's worth it because I think the loss of Randy's felt throughout the rest of the franchise. And we get some really great stuff with another character that may or may not be related to him down the line. But, I really feel like, even though we get the video in Scream 3, the two guys in the film club in Scream 4 is kind of like a poor man's imitation of Randy. And, their rules don't even really make sense. But it is what it is. But he's always setting up the rules, and he is just kind of like the figurehead of that. And Jamie Kennedy just never really been as good as he was in Scream, and he's just Randy, and I just love that character so much.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the only reason they killed him off the way they did and when they did is because, like, up until that point in the movie, at least when I first watched it, I was like, is Randy the killer? Like, I was almost kind of like on the wavelength where like they slipped a few hints where I was like, I think it might be Randy, and then he dies. I'm like, oh, never mind. I think it was almost like to subvert our expectations. But I agree. It's like, oh, it's such a shame. I'm shocked because like I foresaw everyone taking like the big three first, to where I was like, I'll get Randy in the third, fourth round. I'll be fine. And now I'm like kicking myself, even though I had the one overall pick. It's not like it was ever going to come back to me, but damn, I good pick. Matt, or how are you feeling about this? Is this the one you didn't want Chad to pick?
I'm so mad right now. I
I've
went with the Scream 5 cold open because I thought that Chad was going to pick either one of Stu, Billy, or Sydney. I thought for sure. Sorry, I know we're not supposed to say the picks, but I thought he was going to pick one of those for sure. I was certain he was going to pick one of those, so I was like, I'll just get Randy on the way back around. Literally, I was next.
I was gonna say,
I'm so upset.
I was gonna say, you picking the cold open for a character Chad has gone on the record for saying he doesn't love. Like, I was like, wow, yeah.
I know,
hey, that's
I
the
know.
draft. That's how it happens.
My problem was that, yeah, I know. I just I don't know why I didn't. I know. I'm realizing that as I'm sitting here. I'm like, why did I not reverse that? I just thought that. I don't care. Randy Meeks is the guy. Like, he's the same way Dewey is Nerd's like Patronus or whatever. Randy is the same for me. Like, Randy was the cipher for us in the movie, but he was also like, he was the film guy. He was the film guy that people thought was weird. He's the guy. He's the guy I related most to, and he's my favorite character in these movies. And I too was very upset when he died, but also it was a shock because it kind of felt like he was needed, like necessary for these movies. Like, it felt like to me at that time, it felt like he was the one character they couldn't kill off, and then they did. I wish it had been on screen, and I wish that the reveal hadn't been just weird, obvious fake blood splattered all over him. But we do get that cool shot of the blood dripping out of the van. So at least we get something good out of his death other than the shock value. But I love Randy, and I'm very, very upset. I'm actually upset right now.
I was gonna blame you for talking about a death pick and basically talking about the whole death, but I saw how upset you were, so I decided not to interfere. I'll let you.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Yeah. No, it's okay. Because I feel your pain as well. I'm like, oh man, what a two steals in a row, Chad. That I
didn't even think about it because it's not on my death list because the death itself is so bad. Like,
okay. Yeah. Chad.
Yeah, just real quick. I think I read somewhere where Kevin Williams, because I was doing debate, I was researching. Kevin Williamson said that he only did it just to prove that they could kill a legacy character, and then they go on a bunch of other movies to never do it again. And so you set a precedent, and then you just never do it again. And then Randy,
that's one of the major issues I have with the new one. Yeah.
He kind of even sets up his own kind of arc where he says, I'd let the geek get the girl. Like, not Sydney necessarily, but a girl. Like, I kind of wish they would have had him find a film girlfriend. I guess it wouldn't have been, someone who dies in the movie. But,
No, you get Linda Cardellini in there, and she plays a film dork, and then they get together, and it's amazing. That's what you do. Yeah.
Yeah, good pick. Nerd?
Randy's great. Yeah. You guys said it all. Yeah.
Kerri, any thoughts on Randy? Was he on your list?
He actually was not on my list. Because I knew you would probably want.
You just had a baby, so I'm gonna let that slide.
I don't know why. I do really love Randy though. But I kind of figured there were other characters. Like, I know other people's love for Randy is greater than my love, so I was like, I'd probably want to let someone else.
It's a deep field, so
there's a lot of picks left. Matt, you do get another pick now, though. So what? Maybe you'll write this wrong. Now.
Not that it
you
matters.
have the choice of anything, except for a cold open. You have a choice of anything else.
I know. I shouldn't have done it. I should not have done it. I bet it would have been safe. I'm so upset with myself. Fine. I'm gonna go since 3 of my 5 number ones have been taken now. I am going to take the only number one I really, really care about, which is under new character, and it is Randy's niece, Mindy. She's obviously, to me, she's the best character in the new thing. She's taken over that spot. Like, she fills the void of Randy for me in like a real way, and she's super snarky. And Jasmine Savoy Brown is just incredible. Like, she's so good in everything. Like, I'm so glad I see her popping up in places. She was even in Miles Morales video game as her. Yeah. So like, she's popping up everywhere, and I'm here for it. I'm so happy to see it. But Mindy is. I was so nervous in the last one that she was going to be dead. While I do have a lot of problems with the sixth one with it had way too many death fake outs. Like, way more fake outs than are necessary. She was the one that I was glad did not die. Actually, her and another character. I feel like if they ever kill both those two off, we're going to riot. But which they probably will. But Mindy,
keep trying.
Yeah, she's my favorite in the new ones, and fills that void. It is a small amount of relief, a small salve to the wound of losing Randy that I do get Mindy. So
yeah, you get the legacy of Randy through her.
Yeah,
so there you go.
Piggybacking off of that real quick, Mindy, I was pretty, because I have the kind of similar issues probably that to what Nerd does to Scream 5. Like, I loved it at first and it went down. It's kind of come up a little bit more on subsequent rewatches, but Mindy was always like one of my favorite characters from that. Pretty much my favorite. Actually, maybe there's another one. But Mindy does fill that void really well for Randy. The only thing that I kind of wish, because like I said, I wish Randy hadn't died. I would have loved to see Randy and Mindy together, like piggybacking off of each other, where Randy would be like, all right, here are the rules for there's specific rules. And then Mindy would jump in and steal rules from them. And then it would be like that kind of like a cheeky thing where she's like, I'm quicker, I'm young, you're not, go away.
And then they could kill Randy at that point, because then they've got a replacement.
Yeah.
And then there's an emotional thing there. Like, I would have been fine with a Randy death in Scream 5.
Yeah.
or even like, oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the way she goes through explaining the requel and the sequel to the requel and all that stuff. I just think she's like, her timing is just incredible. She's a really great addition. So sorry, Nerd.
Yeah, I can imagine her saying to her dad, basically, the rules have changed, Dad. It's changed with the times, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, that would be how that conversation would
go.
Man,
yeah.
Wow.
Oh, there you go, Mindy and Randy now off the board. Nerd, we're gonna stick with you now for your pick. What would you like?
Yeah. I think I've got to focus on scarcity now. There's lots of great picks, but there's some things where I'm worried that I'll get shut out of things that I really like. And reveals, I actually feel like, is one of the areas where I have the shallowest depth, at least from what I like. So I'm gonna go with Scream 4. The reveal of Scream 4 with
Jill and Charlie.
Yeah, Jill and Charlie.
Yeah,
really, both those reveals are great because of the Kirby scene with Charlie, but then it's really all about Jill, and kind of that was for sure the most unexpected reveal, I think, out of all the Screams. I wasn't guessing her for a second the entire movie. There might be reasons for that, because I feel this movie cheats a little bit with this reveal, but I don't know. She does a great job once the reveal happens, and yeah, the duel with Sydney and Gale and the legacy people, and it kind of all just keeps going from there, and it's great. So the ending to Scream 4 is really good.
Yeah, that was my number 2 reveal, only because it was the one that after Stu and Billy genuinely shocked me the most, because like I had no inkling. As soon as they revealed the Culkin brother, I was like, all right, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. But then they go the further mile and show us it's Emma Roberts, and I could not believe it. I could not believe it. I couldn't accept it. So yeah, it's such a good pick, and yeah, it's my second favorite reveal. It's great.
Jill Roberts, or Emma Roberts, I should say, is kind of a psychopath, I think, and maybe even in real life. So transferring to Jill Roberts, I don't know about that. That's just me just saying how good she is in that role. Is like, is she really like that? Because, you know, she is so incredible. I love her whole scene, like jumping into the coffee table and just really making it look like an accident. Like someone did this to her. Her motivation is incredible. I don't even think you needed Rory Culkin to be there for her to be. If you're gonna have one like ghost face in a movie, just the solo one, just Jill Roberts. I think she's just so high up there. You know, I mean, she we're talking spoilers. She kills her mom in the movie. Like, she goes hardcore. Okay. And she's
we don't know which one kills his mom, her mom, but
that's true. But she
says my mom had to die if she had killed her. I think
she definitely signed off on it if she didn't do it herself.
Yeah,
right.
You
know. I think it's a great pick. I was similarly shocked. I think the first time I watched it, it didn't work quite as well for me, because I remember that happened and I went, what? How? But on subsequent watches, I have been able to see, okay, I get it. The movie does cheat a little bit here and there, but several of them do, so we don't have to really hold that against it. Again, we're talking Scream physics, not real world physics. That's the true thing for me. If a show or a TV show states something as fact, that is fact for that, and I no longer have to question it. If it happens in that movie. It's only if they break that rule that they have stated that it becomes an issue for me. So we've seen from the beginning physics issues with how these things work. So we can just trust that it worked and it's fine. But Charlie as the obvious red herring, or the obvious killer who they make look like a red herring later, who ends up being the killer. It's right as he's getting in with Kirby and stabbing her there at the end. I thought that was really well orchestrated. That as far as the direction of that scene and the writing of that scene, and then Jill, who would have assumed? Everyone thought this was a passing of the torch, and it ended up being a passing of a torch, but not from Sydney, from right. Pre Ghostface of the past. So
true.
Yeah.
Kerri, thoughts on the Jill and Charlie reveal, and then we can also segue into your next pick.
Yeah, this was like my number 3 on my list of reveals, and I think I love it just as much as my number 1 and 2 picks. I think it's what makes Scream 4 one of my favorite Scream films. Like Jill's reveal, and then the entire scene where she's just like going nuts.
Yeah, that's great.
So for my next pick, I'll stick with reveal, actually, since they're going quick. I'm going to go with my number 2 pick, which is still left, which is Scream 2.
Yes.
Nice.
I don't know why you're excited about it.
Because I love it.
Oh, okay.
I already have my reveal pick.
Okay, got it. This one, I think it's just so fun. Like, I remember the first time I watched Scream 2, I just was not suspecting the random reporter at all. Yeah. I just thought like they look, they got Laurie Metcalf to do like a fun little bit part. Like, that's fun. And then Mickey was also like, just the combo of them and their motive. You know, they meet on a message board for serial killers, and like but the fact that her motive is just like, she puts it, just plain simple revenge, and she's Mrs. Loomis. Like, it's something I just didn't see coming at all.
Mrs. Billy's mother.
Yeah.
I remember back when this movie came out being I loved that it was Billy's mother, because it follows. Not only does it follow, or does it reverse a trend in horror movies and slashers specifically, where the mother is either the original killer or the catalyst for the killer. It's the other way. The son is the catalyst for the mother becoming the killer. I thought that was brilliant. I think that Laurie Metcalf's obviously incredible. I back before it became weird, I loved watching Roseanne, and Laurie Metcalf is great. Years later, I would be very upset that she didn't win an Oscar for Lady Bird, and I think she's incredible in that role. Mickey is also really great, but he's dumber than Stu, and far less interesting, and so he's kind of not really an entity in this reveal to me, because it's kind of obvious. He is left-handed throughout the whole thing, which the killer is left-handed. They mention it, and in order for that to work, Mrs. Loomis, who is the smart one, would have to have killed everyone she killed with her left hand also. But she's right-handed. They show her writing with her right hand all the time. But she kills with her left hand. But she's very smart, which I think it's a nice touch that they mentioned. But Mrs. Loomis, I thought that was brilliant. Brilliant reveal. They do have to do some mental gymnastics to make a bunch of people who definitely know Mrs. Loomis not know that it was Mrs. Loomis, but they at least address it immediately. Immediately, Gail is like, "You really? What? You look so different." that it's like, okay, so at least everyone is acknowledging that. Wow, I don't know how I didn't recognize you. But yeah, I think it's a great review.
Yeah, it's you all said the best things about it, but yeah, I just want to echo. I know it's not the best, better character of the two, but I still think Timothy Olyphant is eating into that dialogue in that scene, just living it up, to where even the character, despite being a little more obvious, I still think it's a memorable enough presence and a striking enough presence. So it's a great pick, and I love the way it's just staged, the way they kind of appear from the wings of the theater and all that. It's kind of like what we talked about with the Scream 2 open with the theater and using the theater almost to show a theatricality to the type of reveal, to make it kind of feel even broader and more sensationalized than it actually is.
He's one of the few Ghostface who actually removes the mask to reveal himself, and I will say that scene of him slowly removing the mask is iconic. I really like that image of him removing the mask, and he's a charismatic character, and I dig his scenes with Randy talking about movies. It's just outside of that, he's not that much of a character to me. But Mrs. Loomis carries that so well that he doesn't need to be. So,
Chad.
Yeah, the reason why this is my number 2 is just because Scream 2 is kind of tied with the original Scream for my favorite Scream film. I just love both so much, and the reveal in this is just incredible. He is the Tarantino film student, but I love how he's in the film classes, and then you find out that he wants to blame the movies for what he did and stuff like that. I think that plays into kind of the whole culture of people blaming movies and blaming video games and stuff for things that have happened, so yeah, he is very interesting in that way, and I just love how crazy and energetic he is. He is the Stu of Scream 2. But then Mrs. Loomis, I just think is so incredible. I said Jada Pinkett's the best acted death. I think she's maybe Laurie Metcalf is maybe the best acted killer in the whole thing. Just because Billy has that sadistic sense to him, but she has that rage, that wide-eyed beady rage, that's just so raw, and she's just gonna come at you, and I love that so much, and just everything that happens in the scene, because it's really just the reveal, but the entire scene with Cotton coming in and just everything, just so incredible on that stage, and I adore it. So
Nerd, any thoughts on the Scream 2 reveal?
I like the set piece a lot, and Timothy Olyphant is a good actor, so he plays that scene well. I did feel like it came out of nowhere a little bit too much for the Billy's mom, whatever, coming in. So I wasn't crazy about kind of like that decision and stuff, but the actual set piece and the scene works really well. So I'm good with it. Yeah,
for sure.
I actually just remembered something, and when Chad said to the Tarantino film student, is that line is in the trailer for the movie. I remember this from because I had never seen a Quentin Tarantino movie when I saw this movie because I was a teenager, and so I specifically remember that line because that was the first time I'd really ever heard the name Tarantino. But in the trailer, he mentions that. So in the trailer, they tell you who the killer is by Randy accusing him in the trailer. So yeah,
Interesting.
That's fun.
Okay. That's fun about Scream.
And just
yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
I just wanted to say, just like Mickey in Scream 2, Dylan often has a hard on for Cameron. So there you
go. Round 2, pick 5 is mine. I get 2 back to back. There's one character. Randy was going to be my number 1, but I mean, I can't believe
it either.
I was gonna say Toy Story 3 getting it at the spot in the Tom Hanks draft was like my biggest.
That's because I wasn't on it.
Yeah. But like getting Sidney Prescott as the 10th overall pick in the draft for me, just like that's value that I can't pass up. And while like she wasn't my number 1, she was definitely my number 2 for legacy characters. And I thought I'd get like the cool Randy pick at the end, but all of y'all seem to love Randy a lot too. So I was like, okay, well I gotta get Sidney if I can. And I'm not going to risk going another 2 rounds not getting her because I'm sure Kerri or Matt would have picked her. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of hers. I mean, there's really not much to say. Otherwise, she has such a great arc. Not being in the last movie, not a fan of that choice, but at least they didn't kind of like bad mouth her or anything. They just kind of were like, yeah, no, she wants to stay out of it this time or something. Like I haven't rewatched it, so I don't remember.
Happy ending like that.
Yeah, it deserves. Yeah, exactly. So at least they kind of like give us some sort of closure on it. It's not just like this random like, wait, where is she type thing. I would have liked to see her, but again, like if they had just used her to like do a fake out death like they may have done another character, like I don't know if that would have been as successful. I'm kind of glad they just kind of like left her out of it completely because I think Scream 4 really is like her legacy film in terms of like kind of handling all the grief from the past 3 films and kind of dealing with it all and the trauma, but also kind of like passing the torch per se, not necessarily to Emma Roberts, but passing the torch to this newer generation. Then Scream 5 kind of just feels like the cherry on top of that. But I really feel like the reason I love Scream 4 so much and that it is my second favorite next to the original is because of her arc in that movie specifically. So I'm just such a Sidney fan, and Scream 4 is my favorite of Sidney's performances and outings in the franchise. So I'm a big fan of hers. I think she also makes Scream 3 work better than it would have otherwise. I just think she's an all-time great character. So Sidney Prescott, I'm happy.
Yeah. This was the other one that this is the one that I was thinking of other than Dewey. Like
right.
For me, she's the greatest final girl there is in any horror movie. And I just really I can't believe it got all the way to the 10th pick with you.
I could have pushed it to the 11th pick because I still technically do have that pick too. I could have just done that for to be cheeky, but I feel like on the graphic it would play better to have her higher up. But yeah, I'm surprised I got that value. But I mean, you guys did have great picks before this.
You basically have the 2 1-1s. You have the opening to Scream, and you have Sidney Prescott.
I have Scream 2.
That's right. You have Scream 2.
Yeah. Okay. But to me, that's a 1-1. Any other thoughts on Sidney? Anyone?
Oh yeah. Like Nerd said, if she's not the greatest final girl, she is one of. And yeah, she, basically, I mean, just like how Scream reestablished horror in the 90s and just going forward, she did that for Final Girls. And I love not just her in the first movie, but just like Dylan was talking about in 4 too, just like throughout the first 4 movies, she's kind of not really necessary in the 5th one. Maybe just show her walking her kids and showing that she has a happy life with Mark Kincaid. But in the first 4, she has this incredible arc where she's like, shit happens to her throughout the whole thing. But in Scream 3 at the end, she leaves the door open. She's open to happiness, open to letting, things come at her because, you can't stop it if it's going to come, but, maybe just be ready. And like, she is ready. She says, I'm Sidney fucking Prescott. Of course I have a gun. And then in Scream 4, when she's writing a book, she's helping other people get over the things that she did. And so she's just such an incredible character. She's just a strong like woman in the franchise. You know, she foils like everyone basically. And so yeah, I kind of wish I had Sydney, but you can only choose one. I adore her so
I wish
much.
you had Sydney too, so I could have gotten Randy. Actually, no, Matt would have taken Randy, so it wouldn't have mattered either way. I'm glad you didn't take her, Chad. Kerri, I'm glad you didn't take her either. But what are your thoughts on Sydney Prescott?
Yeah, I mean, she was gonna be my next pick. So
All right, so I made a good choice.
yeah, you did.
Matt, any thoughts?
Yeah, just a second, but if I was going to pick Sydney after losing Randy, I will say this: Sydney was my next pick after losing Randy and then Dewey. She was my third pick on there, but then I could see the writing was on the wall on people who like the meta movie character, a movie expert character, so I had to go with Mindy. But Sydney is great. Personally, Laurie Strode is the best final girl in my opinion, but Sydney is right there, like, because she did reestablish that role for a new generation, which is what I said in the slasher draft or whatever. Mm-hmm. She's a brilliant character. I absolutely love her as a character, and it's incredible that it went this long, but that's how drafts go. And you wouldn't have gotten Toy Story 3 if I'd been on that draft.
Moving on now to the first pick of the third round. I'm surprised this one got to me. I'm not surprised this one got to me because there's some heavy hitters there, but I'm very happy I got this character in the third round. I'm getting a new character, and anyone who knows me, you know, I'm a broken record. I'm a Jenna Ortega stan, so I'm going to pick Tara Carpenter. But not just because I think the performance is excellent. I think the performance is excellent. I mean, she sells pain like no other character since Drew Barrymore had. Like, I really think in that first movie, that cold open that Matt was talking about, like the way she sells pain is gut wrenching to the point where like it's almost unconvincing that she's not actually in pain, and she's not. Like, that's just great acting. But I love the idea that she is the only cold open girl to survive, and like we actually see what it's like to sit with someone from beginning to end of a movie who is dealing with the trauma in real time and healing quite literally in the hospital. Like, that's never a perspective we've seen in these movies, which is so interesting. And then in the newest one, I have some issues with the movie, which we'll talk about when we get to specifics for other categories in the draft. But I think one of the strengths is her as a character and her arc. They give her a nice little romance without overindulging in it. She gets a lot of great, like, girl boss moments to kick ass, but also she sells more of that pain really well. She gets like stabbed in the hand. Like, she's so good at conveying that in her other horror films as well. But I really like how she kind of acts as a counter to Sam, who is kind of wanting to move on or not wanting to move on and deal with the grief. And then Tara, who wants to move on so quickly after the last film, and seeing how she finally has to come to terms with, you know, you have to let yourself grieve to an extent, since everything does move so quickly, especially in a franchise where you're making movies in 2022 and 2023. The movies are coming out so close to one another that it's almost like a metaphor for the fans too. Like, you know, in modern movie making, the movies come out so quickly, they churn out so fastly nowadays that like we don't have time to like breathe and actually just think about the last one. I mean, I think of Infinity War and Endgame came so soon after Infinity War, we didn't have time to really kind of process Infinity War. It's kind of a similar idea. Like, Tara is kind of that character. She's the one who has to be like the audience's eye to say, hey, let's take a breath and like think about what happened before we move on, because it's important to address, you know, the traumas in our lives, and it's okay to talk about it and be open about it and all that stuff. Anyway, I love her character. I think she's awesome. I think Jenna Ortega is awesome, and I just think it's one of the characters I'm most excited to see if they were to make a seventh movie. So, big fan.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you know, I mean, that's a great pick. Just having Jenna Ortega on like high up on your like, you know, list or whatever. Yeah, that makes sense. To me, I kind of thought she was a little useless in Scream 5 personally, because I was like, why wouldn't you just have like the one character? I feel like having the two, I don't really care about that story. However, in Scream 6, I love both sisters, and I thought that they were incredible. So my mind has been changing a lot on these two characters. So that's definitely a great pick. Yeah, I think she's incredible in Scream 6, but you have both movies, so because you have the
Yeah, I get her as a character, so I get the whole arc. Yeah, and I get the whole idea of like she's like kind of sidelined because it's more Sam's story and Tara's kind of like this driving force for Sam, but it's also kind of an obstacle in a way because like the reason they can't move as fast is because she's literally hurt and can't move as fast. So I think that's a cool element added to the mix. But I agree, she gets more of a character arc in the 6th film, but I do think she does serve a big purpose in the 5th film. She's not just there for set dressing. She actually does serve a purpose. But I agree, like I think they take her even further in the 6th film, which is a good thing. I think that she continues,
Definitely.
her arc grows rather than diminishes. Like one character which we haven't talked about, but we will.
I'm kind of the opposite as Chad on the two sisters, is that like the other one is not, I didn't really care for her, but Tara, like I really gravitated to. I don't think she's useless. I mean, she is used by the killers throughout the film, and also as a means to get to Sam. I'm just gonna say her name. We know.
Yeah, we're allowed to say it. Yeah.
To get as a means to get to Sam. I would also say that for me, and this goes back to why I like that cold open so much, it's because she lives in the cold open. So every second of screen time she gets after the cold open, to me, was extra time I didn't think she was going to have. And then she continued to be an important character throughout. Like she could take and it wasn't just that, this the character that was at the beginning and got attacked is in the hospital now and they're just background. She continued to be like an important plot point. Oh, my dog. An important plot point throughout the movie. And I really love Jenna Ortega, obviously, and I love that character, and I am glad that in the 6th one they made her kind of the co-lead, because like I said, I'm still not sold on Sam as a lead character, but them together I think is good, and I think together they make a great lead final girl together. So
and she's
really
got
like
good
that.
movie taste, as we talked about earlier as well.
Yes, that's
Ari Aster. I mean,
a little snooty about it, but yeah.
Yeah.
She's young.
It's a film student in the early 2020s. Of course she is. Kerri, any thoughts on Tara Carpenter?
Yeah, she was my number 2 for new characters. I think she's just fantastic. And I think she kind of outshines in 5 at least. I think she kind of outshines Sam's character. And I think that shows because like she was first off the board over Sam. And although I do think that in 6 they kind of both get a little bit more almost equal, like having them be co-leads kind of gives them a little bit more equal weight. But yeah, overall she's a great new character. Jenna Ortega is definitely killing it.
Nerd, any thoughts?
I feel like Scream 5 both, like they have both of them have impressive moments in that movie, but they're not as well written of characters yet. I feel like in 6, like the dynamic between the two of them, like back and forth, but also them as individual characters is so much better, and develops from there throughout that movie. So both of them are helped by Scream 6, and Tara, I do think she kind of gets used as like a MacGuffin or like a whatever, as opposed to a character in the first movie of hers. But then in the 6th, then she's actually like a real full character. So yeah.
There you go. Hey, we got a split jury, but that's okay because it's only as third rounds where it's getting a little bit more personal and less we're getting deeper into these lists now. So Kerri, you have your thank you. You have your cold open, you have your reveal. So what would you like next?
I'll go with legacy character, and I'm gonna go with the last one left of our final 4. Yeah, our original 4, I guess.
Core 4.
Core 4, original Core 4, and that's Gail. She's really fun. She is the only one who's been in all of the movies, which is impressive. And like, who knew Gail would be the one in every single movie? But yeah, I don't know. I didn't get my first two picks, which were Sydney and Dewey. But I think she's just a great character. I love that they've stayed consistent with her character over time, like her struggle between wanting fame and getting the story versus, she does actually have a good heart and she does fall in love with Dewey. And kind of those tensions within her, we get to see her go from trying to make her way in Woodsboro, becoming pretty famous, going back to Woodsboro, becoming famous again. But it all feels kind of smooth, even though she's kind of going back and forth the whole time.
Yeah, and she wrote the book on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She's also a storyteller along with Randy. But Gail is a great character, and I think that they could have just written her as the exact same character for all of these, and it probably would have worked just fine. But she does have an evolution as a character, which I think is really great. I think that her relationship with Dewey is really great, and kind of the emotional heart of the series, like the emotional through line of the whole series. And I really love that. I do think she should have died in 6. I thought that she was going to be the cold open and she was going to die, and I think that's how it should have been. I think that would have, number one, as I mentioned before, too many fake outs in 6. But I think that killing off your legacy characters is an important thing, just like Star Wars did it. Killing off your legacy characters is something that, while not necessary, I think that there is an important thing to it to be able to pass the baton on. I think Gail has served her purpose, and it almost felt cheap that she didn't get her final moment. That she didn't get that moment.
I think she should have.
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily needed to even kill her, though. You could have just done exactly what you did with Sydney and said she had a happy ever after, whatever. Because honestly, her closure with Dewey in the 5th one, I feel like, is like the solid ending to that whole arc. To where, like, the 6th one, I feel like the only bonus is like we've never seen her go like face to face with Ghost Killer or get on the phone with Ghost Killer. So like that's cool, or Ghostface, like that's cool. But it's like I don't know. My big like controversial take is like I've never been a big Gale fan. I think it's because it's a lot of like it's just very frustrating, and like I get that's her arc, but I'm sometimes always like find myself frustrated. I'm always Team Dewey when like they're having problems or when there's a divide or whatever. Like I'm always Team Dewey, and I don't know. I find her a little annoying sometimes, but I know it's like a controversial opinion. I actually like her best in 4 and 5 actually, when like she's more mature looking back at things. Like I actually think her in 5 is actually one of the better parts of 5, with Dewey and all that, especially with Dewey's death. Spoiler alert. But like I don't know. I don't think she was needed at all in 6, and I think killing her would have been like, bummer. Like they keep killing off the legacy characters, but I think keeping her alive was even more frustrating because it's like, so you now just played with us and then keep her alive anyway. So now when she comes in the 7th one, if she does, it's like, it doesn't. The impact isn't as felt. But I
feel like why keep her alive if you're not going to bring her back for the 7th one? Like in that moment, not from the beginning.
But I do agree with Kerri's original sentiment. Like she is a core person of this franchise, this story. Her and Dewey, like that's the heart of the movie. Like I do still like her arc, even if I'm not the biggest fan of her. Like I wouldn't want to like hang out with Gail, but like I respect her in this franchise as a character. So that's my controversial take.
Just to touch on what you were saying about her, about her basically her storyline ending with Dewey dying. Like I agree, that's an emotional cap to her thing, and then getting revenge on the or helping get revenge on the person who killed her best friend. Like I love that. And that would have been a perfect ending for her, which is why if they had killed her in the cold open, would have made so much sense. Like her thing's ending, and now she gets to be part of this tradition of Scream movies. And we've never killed one of the legacy characters in a cold open, except for, I guess, Cotton. I've just spoiled another cold open. But that was after his and another legacy character. But that was after his story was. It's hard if we're talking about one series to not mention all these things. Like, at least to have an interesting conversation.
And technically, Ghostface at the beginning when explaining the rules forgot to mention not to bring up picks in the future. So technically, we could have been doing this whole time.
Yeah, that's true.
My bad.
But his bad. Yeah. But I think that would have been a great ending for her. And it just felt worse. Like, either don't kill her or don't have that happen, but not having her be attacked like that and feeling like that should be an ending, and then not giving her that ending felt cheap to me. I'm sorry. I know I already said stuff, but I feel really strongly about that.
Anytime. Chad, go ahead.
Yeah, Gail's an incredible character. I agree with everything everybody said. Dylan, she's not really likable. She is kind of the bitch character in the first one, like super bitch kind of a deal. Of course she is. But I do love her arc in Scream 2. As one of my favorite things is their relationship in Scream 2, where he says, you hurt my feelings with what you wrote in that book. And then later on, she says, I'm sorry. And she goes, no, I'm actually really sorry. And then you're like, whoa. Gail's apologizing, like, for real this time. And I don't know. I just like the acting in that moment. I just think is so incredible, and it's one of the highlights of the entire film, entire franchise. And I agree with what everything everybody said about what Gail's fate should have been, because I think it could have been really cool to kill her off in the cold open, or maybe just have her have a happy ending. I just kind of felt a little bit of a problem with that, because I don't know if Gail actually knows how to be happy. And so, like, having her come in Scream 6 to do the same shit she's always been doing, I think makes a lot of sense for her character. And then I do agree that she probably should have just been killed in that moment. Or if Dylan would have had his way, then maybe they could have had another Gail type of character show up and do that. But
well, Kirby kind of filled that role, and it almost felt like they had to. Again, I just said another name, but Kirby kind of filled that role in that movie, and they could have had her completely fill that role, but it felt like they had to divide the duties of that character, that role, between the two in that movie, in the sixth movie.
Yeah, honestly, Scream 7 should just open with Sydney and Gail on the couch getting killed by Ghostface, just to give everyone the satisfaction. And then I'm not going to spoil another cold open from another movie. Then we can find out that they were watching a documentary about Stab.
No,
it would have
Sydney's immortal.
Killing off a legacy character in each of the three movies would have fit the legacy sequel trope that they are trying to expose in these movies. Like, that would have made sense, and that's part of my issue with it as well. But we'll move on.
Anyway, Nerd, any thoughts on the Gail debate?
Which I think Gail's great. Yes, she's supposed to be an unlikable antagonist characters at times, but she obviously is on the side of good too, so it's an really interesting character from that standpoint, because she both stirs the pot, but then also is helping in the end to take down the killer pretty much every time, which is impressive. And piggybacking off of what Chad was saying about just acting wise, I think Courtney Cox character work is the best acting of any actor in Scream franchise. I think she does the best character work of anybody, because it's probably it's the toughest character to play, because they are supposed to be unlikable, but she puts 110% into that role. I think more than anybody else does. So yeah, Gail's
and
awesome.
I'm sorry, I know I talk too much. I have one more thing to say. You were talking about how she's the bitch character in that, Chad. You were saying about how she is a bitch. Too much of a bitch, but Dewey is not enough of a bitch, and that's why they balance each other out so much, right?
Yeah,
that's the genius of their characters, which is why once Dewey's gone, we don't need Gail. That's how I feel. I'm sorry. Not that she's defined by her relationship to a man, but as characters, they work together. They work together.
All right, Nerd. What's your next pick?
The same way about Dewey.
I'm up.
You have your legacy character and your reveal. So you still have your cold open, your kill, and your new character left to pick.
Okay, I have a feeling, based on just how people were talking, that I can go to my opening instead of something else. So I'm gonna go with, yeah, I'm gonna go with the Scream 6 opening. For my opening, I I really like the two-parter, like just the two-parter kill opening, and just like you see one ghost face kill in the beginning with Samara Weaving. Obviously, that whole phone call is really great setup, and just like any of the previous openings. But then you get the twist of like you think you're getting behind the scenes of like what the plot of the movie is going to be, and then another one comes along and basically just like cuts that plan off. And those are great kills. Like we're gonna talk about kills eventually, but like the refrigerator scene, and then yeah, that whole setup in the apartment was amazing, and I don't know, it really surprised me more than some of the other Scream, and all the Scream openings are great, but it really surprised me at the beginning of that movie that it worked out that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be quick here. I know I talk a lot. I just the Laura Crane, Jason Carvey. Yes, his name is Jason Carvey. Oh my God, can you imagine a more like a better / cheesier name of a character being killed who is also a killer than Jason Carvey? Anyway, that scene when he removes that mask as Tony Ravioli. First of all, I was like, Tony Ravioli. I was so happy to see him. But I was shocked. I was like, is this the big meta twist that we find out immediately who the killer is? And I wasn't sure how I felt about it. And I felt maybe I was a little disappointed, but I was like, maybe this is awesome. We'll have to see where this goes. I thought that they were subverting our expectations by giving us that answer immediately. And then it goes on to he becomes the victim after he kills Laura Crane. Samara Weaving is always great, and then he becomes the victim. I thought that was genius. It is a better version of a fake out we have in another cold open that I'm not going to say out loud. It is a much better version of the other fake out, in my opinion. So this was actually my number 3 on my list. So
it's to piggyback back off of that, Matt. I agree. I saw it and I went, wow, what an amazing premise. You're going to show us the whole movie from the killer's perspective. And then they killed him. And honestly, I was bummed. I was like, oh, that was such an interesting idea. Like, we've never seen that really in many slashers when it's a murder mystery. We've never really known who the killer was the whole time, only to then have it subverted, really, unless I'm not thinking of something. But I mean, it's just I thought it was such a great choice, and to have the subversion of expectation. Like, I get it; it was a cool subversion, and I think the actual like way it's staged and all that with Samara Weaving and everything you said there was totally on the money. It's a great cold open. It's just like I wish the movie had delivered on that premise, and I hope maybe in the future we'll get that. Like I've always thought about cool Scream sequel ideas, and I think one of them would be cool to see the killer the whole time, like a behind the scenes type thing, and then like maybe there's another killer the whole time that we didn't know about, like kind of an elongated version of that. Or another idea I had, which was kind of cool, would be like, what if we're watching a movie the whole time and at the very end it cuts and turns out we were watching a stab movie the whole time? That's my other premise for a movie in the Scream franchise. But yeah, it's a great cold open. It's I think one of the strongest scenes of the movie, also because it uses the New York setting better than a lot of other scenes. Like, I think one of the qualms I have with that movie is especially being in New York. Like, I think they need to do more with utilizing the setting, and they do a really good job with that subway scene, but that's kind of like it. And then I think this scene also does a good job with like the alleyway and the really like tiny apartment and all that. So like I like this cold open, even if I wish the film had kind of expanded the idea and concepts of it more. But it's a great pick. It was definitely on my top 5.
Yeah, I'm actually on the fence with Dylan's idea of keeping that going, because I think Mindy said it best in Scream 5 that the best Scream films are whodunits, and just having us know the killer, I think it could be really interesting, especially if you go even later in the franchise and you're like, all right, well, we've already have all the whodunits, so let's have this other kind of interesting idea happen. But yeah, it was a really cool fake out in that way. It's always great to see Tony ravioli. You know, it got like really dark too, like having like a head in the fridge. Or whatever, like body parts in the fridge, and also just having like an even like bigger, badder Ghostface come after him was just like really cool to see. But yeah, like just the whole build up with Samara Weaving, I just thought was so incredible. I mean, she's great, a Radio Silence alum, and you know, just you're almost sitting there like, you know, why are you falling for this? Aren't you like a horror film like aficionado, like teacher or something? You know, but but it's really fun because it's different, and it's like you have to go different. And I think Radio Silence understands that, and I think they're going to continue to up that if they keep making more.
Yeah, I actually thought as soon as you described that, as soon as you described that, Chad, like saying how you weren't 100% a fan of the whole like we know who done it before who done it type thing. I just remembered Ryan Johnson already did that with Knives Out, so I'm not original for that idea, because we see Ana de Armas kill him, and then we watch the whole movie is her trying to get away with it until at the end you realize she actually didn't kill him. It was, you know, the other. But that's like the only movie I could think of where like they tell you who the killer is early on, but the whole twist there is that, you know, the killer isn't actually the killer, but she thinks she's the killer. She thought she'd kill. That's, I think, as far as that premise could go. So maybe that wouldn't be a good idea. Maybe that would just be retreading that. I think that's the best version of that.
Yeah, I think it would have been an interesting thing to explore, especially this late in it, because and then you get like the Knives Out type commentary from Mindy about like how the new subverting expectations is, or the new way to subvert expectations in these things is to reveal your killer immediately, type of thing, like referencing Knives Out and stuff. I think that could have worked, but yeah, I don't remember what I was going to say. Continue.
It's okay.
I was just going to add too, because Scream 6 was like a remake, sequel to the remake of Scream 2. I think with Scream 7 they could do like a Scream 3 thing where, because that was all about kind of like Hollywood and movie making, they could just use that to like experiment with different like filmmaking styles, like found footage and documentary, and play with the tropes like that. That could be really cool. So that's all I had.
Yeah, like a Mysterio thing where like almost they're like using CGI to plan their kills or something. That'd be pretty interesting.
I remember what I was going to say. Chad, you were talking about how like, oh, but she's a film professor. Why doesn't she? How did she fall into that trap? And I think that was actually a very important distinction to make for them. I think that was actually telegraphed to show you that they don't know they're in a horror movie. We've been conditioned in these movies for them to understand they're in a horror movie, but the average person doesn't know they're in a horror movie. You've seen a lot of horror movies, but if you're talking to a person you think you can trust, you may not react the way you would if you weren't writing a horror movie.
She didn't have her own Randy, so that
exactly. She was Randy, and that was the mistake.
I'm liking this film more.
He died in the second one.
Kerri, any thoughts on the opening of Scream 6?
Yeah, that's a really good one. Definitely one of my favorites. And I think like I was like Chad, where after 5, I was kind of like, I don't know if they should keep going with these. Like there's a high risk that, you know, these could just get worse and worse as time goes on. And I think the opening of 6 made me feel so much better about, you know, the franchise in general.
Nice. Cool. All right, Matt, you get to talk some more. Round 3, pick 4. Let's see if you make any. Let's see the gameplay now, knowing Chad has 2 picks after you. You've picked your cold open and your new character. You still have your legacy character, your reveal, and your kill death scene left on the board, which has not been taken yet.
Let me say, as I am picking this answer, that I clearly like Scream 5 way more than most of you, because it's my 3rd favorite. Like, I really like that movie. There's a lot about it that I really love, and so I clearly like that movie more than you guys. So that will segue that into my Ghostface reveal, which is Richie and Amber. I love those two a lot. Like, and here's the thing. they are so disorganized. They're bad at being Ghostface. Like that's just true. If you watch that movie, almost everything they do is a reaction to something somebody else does. They don't really have a plan. They have a plan for Tara, and they believe that will get Sam back to Woodsboro. But that's really as far as their plan goes, because almost everything else that happens is a reaction to whatever's happened before. So and that's evident that how disorganized they are is evident in the fact that their goal is to separate Judy and Wes Hicks, and but when she leaves, because they're like, we need to kill them separately, and then she leaves, and then they call to get her to come back, even though she just said she was going to be coming back very soon with the food. So that's how disorganized they are. But I think that works their advantage, because they, for the first time since Billy and Stu, are just some film kids trying to make. I guess that's not true, because in the fourth one they're also trying to make their movie or whatever. But they are. It is completely about being in that, creating that movie that they wanted made, and it's such a great commentary on the absurdity of things like Snyder Bros and stuff like that. People who get so angry, the people who want to raise money to remake the last season of Game of Thrones, who want to release the Snyder Cut, the people who complain until we get the new Sonic, which, to be fair, it's good. I just don't think that they need to get what they want. It's really how I feel. But they are they're just so interesting to me as characters and how disorganized they are. Also, Richie says it best himself when he reveals himself, and he says, I know it sucks that it's me. And that's exactly how I felt, because I was like,
Right.
I really like that character.
Yeah.
He plays that character so well that when they reveal it, it's like, it's so obvious, but you don't want that to be the case. And so, yeah, I really love that. And Amber's just kind of crazy, and I really like her as a character. So those two reveals, I would talk more about what I like about this reveal, but part of Amber's reveal is also a death that's on my list. So I will get this on to you guys now.
Any
You guys
other
all
thoughts?
seem like you're watching something else as I'm talking.
No. It's because
No.
it's, for me
Alright.
personally, it's because you took there's two more reveals left, and I'm the only one who has to pick it. So now I'm just deciding between two reveals I hate, which one I hate less, because I have to pick one now. So I'm like,
Ouch.
but that's my dilemma. What do you all think of the Richie and Amber reveal? Nerd, we'll start with you.
Yeah. So Richie is actually one of my favorite parts of Scream 5. So like, of the things I don't like about it, I really like Richie as a character, and kind of like what you were saying, the reveal. I don't like. This is a very good reveal, but I don't like the reveal because I like Richie. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
by the end of it, and it's like, it's a really good twist. But I liked because we got Dewey versus Dewey in this movie. So and I liked Richie. I liked Richie being in here. I guess the other side of that is I feel like Amber is kind of a throwaway reveal character. Like I don't really get anything from Amber throughout the entire movie. So it was like, okay, fine, she's helping, like that. So that was kind of that's the maybe negative side of the Scream 5 ending. But I don't know. There's good moments with her in the whole finale. So
Yeah.
there's
I was
that.
gonna say, I think with Amber, it's like the reveal doesn't hit as hard because like she's been kind of like a nothing character, but then once it is revealed, that's when we get a lot of good Amber stuff. So it's like, we get to see the real Amber after that, and that's the stuff I like, which we may talk about later. Chad, Kerri, any thoughts on the Scream 5 reveal?
Yeah. Just basically mostly what Matt was saying about the motivation, I think really worked. Like if they didn't have such a solid motivation, I think it would have just been like an even worse movie. Because I mean, there's just a lot of stuff like the Billy stuff that they add in there. I really hate. I still hate. Even going into Scream 6, I'm like, it doesn't work. It's kind of dumb. But that being said, I love the motivation. I do think it plays into today's culture of like what we're experiencing with, like he was talking about with like, didn't he mention Star Wars, but like the whole fans with Star Wars, like, hating The Last Jedi so much that we got an even shittier. Well, I love Last Jedi, but we got a really shitty movie after that, like placating to the fans. So it's like, if people like that win, we get worse things. And I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Snyder Cut was pretty good, but that being
It was
said,
really good.
yeah, I love the motivation. I love the reveal. I mean, Matt just really hit everything, I think, about the reveal of Richie and stuff. Yeah, love
cool.
Yeah.
Kerri, any thoughts?
Yeah, I really love this reveal, and it's one of my favorite because it was the only time I guessed while I was watching the movie for the first time. I successfully guessed one of the killers during the movie. So I guessed Amber, but Richie, I was like totally surprised by. And so I thought it was like a very fun combination of kind of getting the satisfaction of like, oh, I guessed one, and then having the total surprise. And I do think they work very well together. And I love, like Matt was saying, I kind of love both of their lines and their delivery during this reveal scene.
Yeah, it's funny that we all felt the same way about Richie's reveal being a surprise, because he is the most obvious. And Dewey even points out, you got it. And when they reveal it, he says, Dewey got it on the first try. Like that was his thing. Like he was, and I love that. I will say that Amber, because I know a lot of people were talking about Amber. I actually think Amber has some really great moments. She's got such an expressive face that I think I just was gravitated toward her whenever she was on screen. But she's got some really great like attitude moments throughout the film, and has some really great lines that she was already a character that I was enjoying. But once that happened, I agree, she becomes like. She becomes the character that was kind of always below the surface, which is another thing I really dig. I just really like that movie. I don't know, it really works for me. And her death is, well, we won't talk about it.
Matt, killing me. All right, Chad, you get two picks now. You already took your reveal, so Matt definitely didn't take what you were going to pick. And you still have your legacy character. So do you want your new character, your cold open, or your death?
I'm going to go with new character, and there was a reason I didn't talk that much last round, is because I did a whole ranking of like Scream killers, and Amber's my number 5. I adore Mikey Madison. I adore her so much in Scream 5 because, as I said, I really liked it the first time, and then it just like started to go downhill for me because I think the two main characters, the Billy stuff they add, I think a lot of that is just like I don't really care about it that much. But on subsequent watches, I was like, do I want to like this movie? And then like when I rewatched it one time, the Amber stuff was just really working for me, and I was like, okay, I love this. I love parts of this movie now because of Amber. I have a pattern. I love Stu. I love Mickey. I love Amber. I love the crazy, just manic characters that are just so over the top, and they just like really work in this franchise. And Amber, welcome to Act 3, and then just doing
so
all this like crazy shit. I just think she works so well. Like, I mean, I don't disagree that she is anything special early on. But I think she works so well in that reveal. To me, I don't care about Richie that much. I think other characters in Scream 6 that might be related to Richie are a little more interesting. So Amber is really my main killer in Scream 5 because I think the other killer's so bland that she is the one that really grabs my attention. And I know that's a minority thing to say, but yeah, I really adore Amber. So she is my new character, despite dying in 5. We're not going to see any more of her, but I just like, she makes such a presence I think she really makes that movie, whereas the first two or the two protagonists really just couldn't carry the movie for me. So yeah, that there's that.
Yeah, everything I said about Amber, I just said. Like, I love her. Once we get the reveal of who the real Amber is, I love it. Any other thoughts on Amber that haven't been said already with the reveal?
No, I think I said all that I need to say
They go
about
hand
Amber.
in
I
hand,
love her.
but I love that as a pick for like characters. Like, it's such a great standout character, and we might talk a little bit more about her even later. But Chad, you do get another pick now if you'd like.
Yes.
For
Yeah.
your cold opener, your death.
Yeah, I got my two scenes. So I'm gonna go with my death scene. And I was really, really thinking about this because I don't want to pick. There's a lot of really good ones that are like a part of like cold opens and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't want to. If someone's picked a cold open, I don't want to do a death that's a part of the cold open. I just feel like that's kind of weird to do. Like they've kind of already cemented that. So I'm going to do a death that's kind of in the middle of the movie. And I was like, I'm going to go with kind of a fun one that's a character. I'm gonna go with Tatum Riley in Scream.
That's my number one.
Damn.
All right, sorry, nerd. Yeah, the reason I went with Tatum is because I don't know. I just love that scene so much. It's just such a like inventive kill with the whole garage door. And I just love her line. Please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. So well acted. She's, not like one of the best characters in the first movie, but she like really, plays that death scene so well. But you still care about her. I mean, she's, Dewey's sister and Sydney's best friend and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I just think that death is really iconic as well, just like the movie itself. So, trying to think about other things to say. Yeah, I just think it's incredible. So love it.
Yeah, it's a great death. That was my number one, just for the iconography of her going up at the garage. It's amazing. It's great. There's nothing else to say. It's a classic. Any other thoughts, Nerd? You look a little upset about this one.
That was my number one kill. I thought I could wait on, honestly, this until later, just because of how things were going. But there's so much stuff I love about how this scene plays out, but one of my favorite things about just Scream kills in general is that some of the best ones have the comedic notes to them. Like, some of the best kills are not the most brutal, but the ones that also like make you laugh a little bit too. And this one is just so hilarious how it plays out. It's like, how do you get yourself stuck in that situation? But it works so well. The whole scene, and then you see her dangling later, like as the other scenes are playing out, you just see her still hanging there. And it just comes back for more. I love it.
So good. Matt, any thoughts on Tatum?
It's a great choice. It's high on my list. It's one of those that when you think about the movie, you think about that scene, and it feels, it's one of the few non-knife kills that Ghostface does, but it feels so classic in terms of slasher movies that I really love that kill. It's really very good.
I wonder if they played that death in the movie Stab, because it's called Stab. I wonder if they only kept the stabbing deaths or if they had room to put that in Stab.
I'm sure they put it, because they didn't only put people who screamed in Scream.
Oh, good point. Okay, you get the snap for that, Matt. You can get a death, or you can get a what do you get? A legacy character. It's up to you. All the legacy characters for everyone else. Yeah. So
yeah, I can save legacy character to last. Honestly, death scene was really. I think we all kind of saved it toward the end for like, just because it's such a well, and there's so many good ones.
Yeah, it's not like other categories where there's only 6 gold.
Yeah, there's so many good ones.
Yeah,
but since I don't have, since legacy characters were stolen from me unceremoniously, I guess I can go with my death scene here. I'm actually between two death scenes. One of them that was really emotional, one of them that I really, really like. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go ahead and this is not gonna win me this draft, and I wasn't gonna win anyway, but I'm gonna go with Cece's death in Scream 2. And here's why. Because
Buffy.
it's Sarah Michelle Gellar. And at the height of Buffy, she's running around this I guess not the height, it was early in Buffy, but still, she's running around being chased by this killer, the opposite of her character that we're used to seeing her. And I love that. I love her conversation that she has with them. Before that, I love that she's watching Nosferatu and that she's a vampire slayer. I love that character of Cece because in the not only does she like Alien over Aliens, which is true for me as well, but she also has a really great conversation with Ghostface, which is really weird to say, but they have like a really cool conversation before the whole thing, and then she's around, and she also doesn't get killed by stabbing. She gets thrown off the roof, but lands in a very iconic Michael Myers pose on when she's on the ground. It's the Sarah Michelle Gellar running from the bad guy instead of killing the bad guy that I think really every time I watch it, I love it. So that's what it is for me. I really like that scene.
Yeah, it's a great scene. It was my number 3, and Tatum was my number 1. So like, it was a good pick. I would have picked it if you had picked my 2. It's a great pick, and I think it's another thing where it's the Drew Barrymore thing of, oh, Sarah Michelle Gellar's in this movie. She's going to be one of the staple characters now, and it's, oh nope, we're a third of the way in, she's gone. So yeah, I would have liked to see maybe her and Randy get together or something. I don't know. It's a sad.
I think is she the first kill after the cold open?
Yeah,
because I know it's pretty far in, but nobody dies for the first like third of the movie. Yeah,
so, I believe so.
Other than no cold open,
it's a bummer. Chad, any thoughts on Cece Cooper?
Obviously, I mean, Buffy's my favorite show of all time. I love Sarah Michelle Gellar. She just like crushes Buffy. Wait, are we talking about Buffy now? I'll just talk about Buffy for the next hour.
We can.
Yeah, Matt, let's go. Yeah, but she wasn't like really, I don't think like iconic Buffy like then, but like just looking back, seeing her in that is just so fun, and another reason why I love Scream 2. And now I'm kind of like wishing I would have chosen her, but I was like going back and forth between her and Tatum because they are both like really, really great. But Tatum does have like a little more of like the emotionality, I guess, because she's like, related to someone and, just a random person at the college, but it is everything Matt said is just so incredible with that. Is she the one that throws the bike at him?
She's the one in Scary Movie. I think Scary Movie 1, where the whole thing where with the things keep falling down the stairs with the toolbox and everything like that. That's the scene that they're parodying as her running around in the So yes, she throws the bike at him down the stairs.
Nice. Nerd, any thoughts on Cece?
Yeah, I mean, it's another great death scene in a long list of great death scenes within Scream franchise. Like, one of the things like I haven't been too stressed about like the death scenes is that just there's so many to choose from, great ones to choose from. Like, I did have like my number 1 favorite, which I was upset about, but there's a lot of great ones, and I really do like this thing of like Buffy's very much not Buffy in this scene, and that I think that's really what makes this scene. Plus, just like, I don't know, it's really goofy how it finishes off just being thrown off the roof. Like, sure, she gets stabs, but then it's just like this throw off the roof that I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you do have the next pick, Nerd, so you can pick your next death on your board, or you can go for your new character.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think the way I'm going to do this, because I think if I do it this way, my last pick, I can launch into talking about more death scenes because hopefully more will be picked by then. So I'm going to go with one of my favorite scenes in all of Scream, and I feel like I'm kind of cheating by calling this a death scene, but it totally is because there's actually 2 deaths that are within this scene, and Scream 2, it's the Scream 2 car scene. So you have the front end,
Oh.
you have the front end part where they run over the guy and he gets impaled, but then you have like the whole scene that plays out of them like having to crawl across Ghostface in the car and try to not like wondering if he's passed out, and they get away and Sydney wants to go back and check to see who they are, and yeah, whoever she's with, I don't remember the character's name, but the person she's with was like, no, that's crazy to go back to the car. And then of course the one person that doesn't go back to the car is the one that gets killed there. I just love how that the whole thing plays out. The scene in the car is one of the most tense moments in all of the franchise. So that's my death scene, the Scream 2 car scene.
Yeah,
I
it's a great
agree. It's one of the most tense. There's another one that I think that is also tense that I'll talk about in the honorable mentions, but it is one of the 2, in my opinion, most tense scenes in all of the Scream movies. I will say, fun fact about this is that they had a script leak on Scream 2 before they. I think her name's Hallie is the other is the friend.
Yeah.
Before they changed it to what it is now, Hallie was a killer also in the and so she wouldn't have died there, but she ended up dying there. I almost picked. I liked this one. I was originally going to be pretty high on my list, but I left it off just because I don't care about those characters as much. But the impaling with the things, it scares me. Also, I was talking earlier about the reveal, Mickey revealing how iconic that is, and I love how he's got a wound on his head because he was in a car accident. Just a few minutes before that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yes, it's a good scene. I really love it.
Yeah, I love it too. I didn't even think of it because I was kind of going like 1 death per movie, and I wrote down CC Cooper for 2. I didn't even think of the death scene in the car, but like that scene is so good, especially like the in between from the crash to like the trying to get out of the car, the impaling, like all that stuff is so good. So that's a really good pick, especially at 4th round value, 3rd overall death pick. That's pretty solid. Chad, any thoughts on that?
Nerd is actually incredibly right here because that is an incredible scene. Like they were saying, the tension there when she's like crawling over the body of Ghostface, like wanting to reveal the mask and then doing the horn. I think the 2 security guys is it Andrew Johnson and Johnson Andrews or something like that. I think that's like how they play with the name. And then the whole Hallie death thing, that's kind of like another nod to Halloween where it's like behind the hedges and it's behind where you can't see what she's looking at kind of a deal. So, it's just an incredible whole thing, even though like the characters that die, you maybe don't really care about that much, but like the way they die is pretty gnarly. So especially the pole through the head. So.
No, Elliot agrees. He has strong opinions on this. No, it's okay.
Hey,
Kerri, do you have
Can
any
we-
thoughts on the 3 deaths? Tatum Riley's garage door deaths, CC Cooper, Buffy thrown from the balcony, and then the car death scene. Any thoughts?
All really great deaths. I think it's interesting. The first 3 death scenes are all from the first 2 movies.
Right.
That's really
It's
cool.
the best too.
All right, Kerri. So you have your cold open, your reveal, and your legacy character. You still have to pick your death and your new character. What are you thinking, Kerri?
I'm gonna go. So while I was changing Elliot, everyone chose death scenes. Am I understanding that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm gonna choose actually a new character. I'm gonna go with Sam.
Nice.
I think she's one of the. No, she's not the last core 4 left, but
No, there's a lot left.
Yeah.
They all mostly survived.
I mean left in choosing because Mindy's off the board
gotcha,
and
yeah.
Tara's off the board. But I'll go with Sam. I like her character and I liked her a lot more after seeing 6, both in 5 and 6. I think, like I said earlier, I thought Tara kind of, or at least Jenna Ortega kind of outshined her in 5, but I think overall 5 and 6, like Sam is a great character. I think especially as a co-lead with Tara, like we were talking about, she works really, really well as a final girl. And in 6 especially, I like they kind of toned down the ghost Billy hallucination stuff, which made things a lot better. I really enjoyed her arc in 6, like being so overprotective of her sister and not dealing with her own issues. And she finally kind of at the end of 6 learns to let go and kind of deal with her trauma a little bit more. Yeah, but I think it was really cool to see her become like the new face of this franchise.
Yeah, no, it's a great pick. I think her and Tara work so well as a duo, but she really does have some great moments in that 6th movie. Like you said, like they get rid of the ghost aspect of it, but they still kind of lean in at the end of the darkness in her still, but using that almost as a positive to kind of fuel her passion in a way and like her, her tough side essentially. And I love the part where she does kind of don the ghost face garb and like takes her revenge out at the very end. I love that. Yeah, I wasn't digging her in the 22 film only because like I was coming off of In the Heights where she's such like an explosion of energy and Sam is a little bit more reserved and she just didn't pop in that movie for me. Whereas like Jenna was doing a lot of great stuff in the opening and then like the other characters were really funny where she just kind of felt like the kind of static character. But then the 6th one, I definitely think they had developed her character even further and I do like where they went with that. Any other thoughts on Sam? Chad, any thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I had a complete 180 with this character from Scream 5 to Scream 6 because I agree everything Dylan just said. Like she's kind of bland. I was like, do they need both of these characters? Like a lot of people say, Jenna Ortega maybe like outshines her in that movie, and everything. But yeah, they both come in full force in the Scream 6, and they're both incredible in that. And I love how kind of badass she becomes towards the end of Scream 6, where she's just like wailing on these people and stuff like that. I think that is, just such a credit. Like she, like Kerri was saying, like she lets go of her sister both physically and metaphorically to both just fight back to back, kind of like badass style. Yeah, she's just an incredible final girl in 6, and I think it makes 5 a little bit better too. The work that she does, and yeah, no, I agree with Dylan. Is a little bit of a, from In the Heights, it was kind of like a okay, and then Scream 6, I'm like, okay, now I'm excited to see what happens with her character.
Right.
Like, is she going to follow in her father's footsteps? Or did she drop the mask? Like I'm done, kind of a deal. So I'm really excited to see where it goes with her character. So it's a really great pick. I almost picked her.
Nice.
Yeah. So my original plan was to wait until the end to do my death scene so I could get my new cast and Sam in before the end because I really love but I made the wrong choice. But it's okay. I really love how Sam just lets loose at the end of both these movies. Like in 5, she is definitely bland throughout pretty much the entire movie until the finale when she takes when she in the whole Ghostface finale and she just channels her inner Billy, basically Billy Loomis, which is when the Billy Loomis stuff really works, is when she finally like taps into that shit. And in 6 it's even better because she puts on his Ghostface costume. And and in 6 also, like you guys were saying, is all the problems of her character from 5. I think they finally figured out how to write those elements they were trying to do in 5 way better, and her arc developed better in 6. So the character just felt more alive, and her dynamic with her sister was even better. So much about Scream 6 really paid off for Sam, and I just love how ruthless she gets when it's time to fight. It's like Sydney really gets like that too in her final showdowns with ghost faces, but Sam almost like is even more like it's scary when Sam goes off at the end of those movies.
Hmm.
Yeah.
She stabbed
Matt-
Richie like 22 times. So
That's
Right.
right. That's true.
Jesus, I counted.
Matt, 22, you said? Almost like the year it came out. I wonder if it was coincidental or not. Scream 22, Stab 22. I don't know. Matt, any thoughts on Sam Carpenter?
I've kind of given my thoughts on Sam Carpenter already. I don't care for the character even after 6 very much. I think that pairing her with Tara is a right move. But personally, like she doesn't do much for me at all. And unfortunately, I did after In the Heights. I was like, I wonder if my issues with Melissa Barrera are just small because I had a few in that movie, but she was mostly good. And then I saw this and I was like, maybe I just don't care for her as an actress. And I think that's what it is. But I'm just not a big fan of the character, even after 6. I see why people do like her. I will say that while I do think the Billy stuff works, it works for me. I don't like that she's basically a serial killer who kills bad guys because she keeps killing the way that she keeps going off on them. Like it doesn't work completely for me. But again, I get what they're saying and I get why it works for most people. It actually bothered me more that Tara was like after the dude in 6, after the dude was like, I surrender, and then she was like convinced her to kill him, and I was like, oh, that didn't work for me very well at all. But let me say that I understand why people enjoy this character and why they enjoy that aspect of it. So while it doesn't work for me, I get it, and I think it's a good choice.
Cool. All right, so we're moving on now to my final 2 picks. I have my death and my reveal left. I'm going to go with my death because I kind of alluded to it earlier that we'd talk about it later. She was already picked for a reveal. She was already picked for Chad's new character, and she's going to be picked for my death. It's Amber Freeman. I love Chad, remind everyone what our each of our number 1 Quentin Tarantino movies were when you did your ranking, Chad.
Yeah, it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That is correct. It's my favorite Tarantino. It's Chad's favorite Tarantino, and
that's insane.
This is an amazing,
insane.
amazing little nod that I don't know if it was intentional or not. It had to have been because it's her charging toward them with the knife, and she gets set on fire, and then she's running around on fire, which is exactly what happens to her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, except she runs into a pool, and in this case, she runs into Gail and Sydney, and I forget which one actually shoots her in the head. Do we remember who it is, or is it Sam who does?
Gail.
I don't remember who.
Yeah.
Sam does.
Sam? Gail? It's
no, Tara shoots her.
Tara shoots. Yeah, because Sam and Tara get the kills at the end of this.
Gotcha.
Oh,
so yeah,
right.
Tara
Yes,
kills.
that's
Yeah. Which honestly kind of works then for me too, because I picked Tara as my favorite new character. So like it's just amalgamation of great things. It's the best of the like post-reveal energy of craziness next to Stu. Like you get the craziness from Stu, kind of what Chad was talking about, Stu and Timothy Oliphant, and like just all these characters. Amber beats that and then like dials it up to an 11. Like I just love how she goes out being a character that I didn't really care about until that reveal, and then the reveal just totally selling me, and I just immediately thought of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I got so excited. So I was like, this is such an iconic moment of this new era of Scream movies, and it's my favorite death in that film. So yeah, that's my pick. Chad, any words? Being that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is also your favorite Tarantino film.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the thing that she does. That's the way she goes out in these movies.
It's your typecast.
It's like the 2 movies I know her from, and same thing happened to her in both. And she's a villain in both, and she's crazy in both, and just what she does. Maybe we'll see a little bit more range from her in the future. I don't know, but like I said, I love Amber as a character. She's just so manic and crazy, just a lot of wild energy, and she carries that out to the very end, to the very fiery end.
Yeah, there you go. I'm just looking up to see if she has anything on the horizon to where she could play a flammable villain. Doesn't look like there's anything right now in the works, but hey,
she's got to be
or a flammable hero. You're right. Yeah.
Is she an elemental? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god, that'd be the best Easter egg ever. If you just have this actress run in the back with the in live action though. We need to know it's
Right.
her, or an animated Pixar version of her. That'd be, oh my god, that'd be so awesome. I hope we have time to correct that, even though it just premiered yesterday at Cannes Film Festival. I hope we get time to fix it by the time it hits theaters in a few weeks. Any other thoughts? I mean, yeah, Matt.
What show did you guys rank that incorrectly at number 1?
Our Quentin Tarantino ranking
On this show?
On
on Chad's channel. Chad's channel.
Okay, that's what I was asking. What show was it on? Like, okay.
You rank it with me is the show.
Okay.
Thank you.
You can go hate watch it and
I was about to say I need to go hate watch it.
Chadwick Webb is
The real number 1 Inglourious Bastards. But
hey, that was my number. I think it was my number 2. So
anyway, I'm just messing around. Amber's death is great. The prosthetic that they use for her when she's burnt is so good. The it's kind of insane where she catches on fire, like, and when you rewatch it, seeing like the alcohol get on, like her getting soaked in the alcohol and then landing on the thing, like, and the stove turning on, it's all very silly but great, and I really love that scene. And then catch on fire, and then having her run at him in that great prosthetic. It's really great. It's a great choice.
yeah, they're making a director's cut of the Hunger Games catching fire, and they're replacing every scene with just her running through with the knife. There's your 2013 retrospective callback here. Nerd, I know you said you don't love that Scream 2022 film, but do you like this death?
I mean, yeah. I mean, yes, her catching on fire is crazy, and then how she just comes running out. Like, there's always a great ghost face, like, person that, like, comes back when you think they've been finished off, or 2 or 3 times sometimes, and just having her get that opportunity in 5 is really fun. You think that her being set on fire was enough, but she still runs after them and has to be shot to be finished off. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Kerri, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, that's a really great one. And I love that. I think we loved from the beginning that she died the same way as she did, like, in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's just so fun.
Yeah. I'd like to believe it's intentional because it's like 3 years removed. So like that's just
okay. So I can't remember where we talked about this, but it was coincidental. And then the directors, Radio Silence, saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and they were like, should we keep the death scene the way it is? Should we change it? And they were like, we'll just keep it. It'll be fun.
Wow. I wonder if Tarantino's a fan of that movie, or if he's like, waving his
I
finger.
heard that actually on Dead Meat. Maybe. I want to say that's where I heard that.
Wow, that's awesome. So Amber represented 3 times on the board so far. Who knows? Maybe she'll be represented again. I don't even know if she can be, but we'll see. We're down to my reveal, and this is tough because I just said earlier, like, I don't like either reveal from Scream 3 or Scream 6. I'll talk about each one because you have all picked yours. Scream 3, I like it because it's only one, and at this point we've kind of expected it to be more than one, to where it's one that's even more creative than it being multiple at this point, which is kind of an inventive twist. And like, they try to bring some mythology and make it like really personal to Sydney herself and her heritage and stuff, but it just feels a little weird. It feels a little contrived, the backstory of who this killer is in regards to Sydney, and it's not a big enough presence of the film for me to be like, oh, who's that guy? Like, I'm just kind of like, okay. And then Scream 6, it's interesting because, like, I think it's a cool idea having so many killers and having it be a family that's killing, and that they're doing it for Richie. But then I think, it's exactly what the second movie was. It was Miss Loomis doing it for Billy. And in this case, it's them all doing it for Richie. And I get, like what Chad said earlier, it's like commenting on Scream 2. This is essentially the requel of Scream 2. But that also makes it, in my opinion, that's the only death I predict, or the only reveal I've predicted of watching all these 6 movies. Like, that's the one where I watched it and I said, well, if they're doing the Scream 2 thing, it's going to be Richie's parents. And sure enough, it's Richie's dad and Richie's siblings. Now, I didn't know that all 3 of them would be involved. I thought it would be one of them would end up being Richie's parents. I just didn't know who it would be. But I figured based on the fact that it was a riff on Scream 2, that Richie's parents or Richie's family was going to be involved. I like how it was as expansive as it was. So I'm going to go with Scream 6 as my pick because of that element, just because there are so many, and at least the Ethan thing is a misdirect. Like I the whole time I'm like, it can't be Ethan, because you see him pretty much the whole movie in plain sight, except for say for maybe 1 or 2 scenes. Like he's always there to where it's like, it can't possibly be him. But then when you rewatch it, it's a little obvious when you look back, especially Quinn, the fact that we never really see her die. And that's the standard of horror movies. If you don't see someone die, it means they're probably not really dead. The one that got to me the most, though, was the dad, because he has that really great emotional scene earlier on where he's like crying, where you're so convinced that he's torn up about Quinn's death, which is really a testament to the actor for conveying that emotion, making you think that he's completely innocent, but then by the end it makes a lot of sense. So it's one of those reveals that, like, I saw the idea of it coming, but not necessarily who necessarily was involved. I thought Quinn could be involved because we didn't see her dead. So it's the only one I've been able to predict. But honestly, I kind of like having it on my board for that reason, because it's like, oh, I actually predicted one of these, which is kind of like a reason why it's a little bit more personal to me than the third one is. And I just don't like Scream 3 that much at all. So like, this one is the one I'm going to go with. But I think both are flawed for different reasons. Chad?
Yeah, I just wanted to say real quick, because I saw that scene a little bit early on with the dad, a little bit differently, because at one point when he goes like, and we're going to get him or something, like, I was like, why is he going so hard with this? And then I'm like, okay. And then it reveals later, and then you go, all right, I saw a little bit of that crazy killer in the middle of the movie. So I feel like, because I haven't rewatched it yet, but on a rewatch, I'm going to go, all right, yeah, I was right about that. But I do love the fact that it was 3. I think it's really cool because then you have the two final girls. So you have the 2 final girls fighting the 2, and then Sam can go after the dad after that. And I just thought it was a really cool next level thing to do in Scream. Like, this is the next kind of evolution. We had 1, we had 2, now we have 3.
Yeah, and I do like how it's staged too. Like, I think that adds to it too. Like the reveal of it all with the big kind of almost shrine museum with all the different Scream ghost face and all the different weapons. I think that adds to it, to where, like, sure, I predicted it. I predicted it was going to be involving Richie's family somehow in some way, and I knew Quinn was probably not actually dead. But ultimately, I was won over by the presentation of it, because that goes a long way, I think. Nerd, any thoughts?
Yeah. So I like this scene, or this reveal, for a few reasons. So the first thing is Mindy calls it, like, at the beginning of the movie, like, she points out the 2 siblings of Richie, I guess, that they would be killers. Like, you could easily, she was like, you could easily fix the roommate thingy or whatever. And
she
that's what ended up
him
happening.
into her phone as Ghostface, doesn't she?
Maybe, yeah, right. Oh, right, yes. The dude, yeah. What's his name? I forget his name. But yeah, that was really great. But then I just love how Dermot Mulroney, or Gavin, Dylan McDermott. Wait, what is it? No,
Dermot Mulroney.
I know. It's Dermot Mulroney.
That's a good. That's good.
I love how he's just having the time of his life in this whole movie. Like, and in the reveal, it's even better. Like, he's hamming it up to the nth degree. And I mean, if you have a ghost face reveal, you need that. And you should have expected him earlier on, and I guess maybe I did at one point, but I honestly bought the Kirby, like the Kirby snapped, and she was actually the thing by that point of the movie. And I actually thought that we were actually only going to have 1 killer, because of how things played out, and it felt like the math was right where 1 person could have been able to do it. And then it winds up being 3, and I was like, what? So that surprised me too. So
definitely,
I'm with you on the Kirby thing. I see a lot of people on the internet, and I think that they're just doing a fifth quarter quarterbacking with this, but they are saying no one ever believed that Kirby was the killer, and I completely disagree with that. I had bought it mostly because the same way Richie was the person you most did not want him. Person you most didn't want to be Ghostface. Kirby is the one who was like, I hope she's not Ghostface. Like,
right.
and so
yeah,
and so like when they were doing that, I was like, dang, it's already gonna do. I will say that while I was relieved that she wasn't Ghostface, this is the only reveal in all of Scream, in all the Scream movies, that disappointed me. I know 3 seems like it should have been the one, but I was in high school, guys. I didn't. In retrospect, I see why that's an inferior Scream movie. Back then, I had no idea. But this is the one that disappointed me. It is on here on my list above Scream 3, but I don't know. I just once that happened, I was like, but that's the same. I was hoping they would do something other than the family member thing. Like, that's the obvious one. And I was like, but they know we're going to think that. So I had just convinced myself that wasn't going to be what it was. And it is what it was. And so I was a little disappointed by that. I thought that the girl, the daughter, the sister was dead. Like, I didn't ever question that personally. So when she comes back and we already had so many other death fake outs, that kind of bugged me a little bit too. I was like, oh, no. So they're just adding death fake outs that we didn't know were death fake outs now. Okay. And so this one kind of disappointed me. I do like that it's 3 killers. And I liked that scene at the end. I liked the ending of Dermot Mulroney's situation where where she's like, I'm not going to do it. And he's like, thank you. I don't like what comes immediately after though. So that's my issue with it. But there are parts that I really like, but that just kind of disappointed me.
To be fair, you 4 took the best 4 reveals to where I was like, all right, well.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not shitting on your reveal. No, I'm saying of this.
The thing is, I agree with you. I don't think it's a great reveal. It's just I had to pick which one I liked better of the 2. So like, I definitely think you 4 got the best 4. So that's that. Kerri, any thoughts on the Scream 6 reveal, and then we could transition into your death pick.
Yeah, I really like it actually because I also fell for the Kirby setup, and I was honestly expecting, like, when I was falling for it and they were heading towards that fake out with Kirby being the killer, I was like, oh, this is kind of disappointing. It was like a little bit too obvious. So I was like very pleasantly surprised by the family member reveal, and I thought it was kind of fun that kind of made it a Scream 2 requel. I think it's a fun pick and it's a fun reveal.
Nice. And what's going to be your final pick, Kerri, for death?
Yeah, so my last pick is my death scene. I'm going to go with Jill Roberts as my death scene pick.
Nice.
I think it's like she goes in, she's trying to kill Sydney and finish the job and prevent being revealed as Ghostface. And I think just it winds up being a pretty fun kill, just everyone working together to trying and kind of keep failing to kill her. But I love, that she gets shocked by the I can't remember.
Defibrillators.
The defibrillator.
Clear.
And the clear line, and all of that. And I think there's some really great lines, and Judy Hicks gets shot and she comes back at the end. She's like, wear the vest, save your chest. I don't know. I think it's a really fun scene. Yeah. And it's the death scene of a killer, so it's a little bit more fun to enjoy than some of the scenes of innocent victims.
Don't fuck with the original.
Right. There's a particular part of that death scene that I absolutely love, and that's where Sydney lays down beside her and they're right next to each other, the 2 final girls, but one of them was the killer. That shot is absolutely beautiful. I like that scene too, and the clear that whole thing. I really dig that. I originally there was going to be a Scream 5 immediately following this, and Jill was going to get away with it until the 5th one. So I think that would have been pretty cool. But for what we got, I do like that, and I like the little moment where they lay down, where Sydney's laying next to her dead body. I like that a lot.
Cool.
The
Yeah.
don't
Nerd?
fuck with the original line is absolutely what makes this death scene even greater, because that's just the perfect like Sydney line to cap it all off.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah.
Chad?
Yeah, like I said, I adore Jill Roberts. That's a fantastic pick. That's everything with her, just the whole third like act with her. Doing all this, showing all the setup, and then going to the hospital. Just the annoyance that she has. That she's like, oh, Sydney survived. She's like, oh my god, I gotta go do this shit again. Like it was all done. I'm in my bed. I'm good.
Well, and I also love how Gail and Dewey figure out that she's the killer, like because she mentions being stabbed in the same shoulder as Gail.
Yeah, and just like adding like just like her whole motivation, the line. I think the line something like, "I don't need friends, I need fans." So yeah, I just love Jill Roberts, and yeah, the death is hardcore. It's a pretty crazy way to go out.
There you go. So Nerd, you get now your new character. I know you wanted Sam, but now you have to go back to the drawing board. Who would you like to pick for your new character?
Yeah, now we got the, I don't know. There's not a lot of choices, but and I kind of already talked about it earlier, so I guess I won't have that much new to say, but I'm gonna go with Richie for the new cast.
Nice.
Because he did make an impact. He was one of the things that made an impact in Scream 5. I liked him by the end of the movie, and I do think how he played out the reveal scene worked really well too, though. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Richie. I said this earlier, but I wanted to skirt around a possible other death scene, and I brought it up. But like, I love that Dewey from The Boys gets to kill Dewey from Scream franchise. And
except
that's
Amber
just really fun.
Except that Amber killed Dewey, but
they get to face off. But
again, it's one of those Miss Loomis things. Like, it was motivated by both of them. So
that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've already talked about Richie also, how much I really like that character in the reveal. But yes, that's a great pick, and he's number 2 on my new characters list. So
yeah, and it's like Billy, kind of like, I forget who said it earlier. It's like it's kind of evident from the get go, even though the movie tells you he's not, like he breathes like a serial killer, whereas Richie doesn't, and I think that's what makes him a little bit more compelling at times, is because it's like it's the boyfriend you actually kind of trust, whereas in the original it's like Billy, there's still an ounce of mistrust there, to where I think Richie is an interesting development of a kind of similar character in a way. Chad or Kerri, any other thoughts on Richie? Or
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just a great like whole third act, and Richie there at the end just kind of like so like naive, but like plays that type of character really well, about like the whole Scorn fan and stuff, and then him like what about my ending, and stuff like that, and just the way he goes out is just so freaking brutal. 2010, and I'm almost sitting there like I guess like Scream logic, but I'm like, how has he survived 22 stabbings, and then the throat slash is the thing that gets him? I'm like, that dude should be dead. Like, I guess they were all shallow. No, they weren't all shallow cuts. They were all somehow they were all cuts that missed vital organs, I guess.
Well, he would have died if, anyways. Even if
he would have died from him, yeah, probably. I just remember this. I was going to talk about this with the Kirsch family when we talked about them as Ghostface. Do you guys think it would have been too on the nose to have Dennis Quaid play Officer Kirsch, play the dad? Like, would we have been like, okay, so that's his dad and that's the killer? Would we have immediately done that? I wonder if they even considered that.
I think what they would have had to have done would be address it early that he was Richie's father, but then try to make him a sympathetic character where he's like, oh, Richie, he went, poor Richie, what happened to him? And then it turns out, because you can't just make it a reveal that he's his dad if that's the case. But that'd be cool. And another thing I like about Nerd, your pick, is that you're picking a new character, but even in terms of Scream 6, Richie in himself is kind of a legacy character, because his legacy is what drives the main villain plot. So he's a new character and a legacy character all in one, which I like. All right, Matt, round us out. give us your legacy character that you would like to pick here as the final pick on your draft.
Okay. Well, my top 3 got taken, and which leaves 2 on the board for me. Between Stu and Billy, really is where it's at. I think I'm going to go Stu. Stu is just way entertaining to me. Not hopefully, but there's a chance that we may see him in the next movie if the internet is to be believed. They did mention they sowed the seeds, but I think that was probably just fan service. But where they said if you believe he's dead, but I like the idea that it's open, even if it's not actually going to happen. Like that it's open, that it's a possibility that he's not dead.
Yeah.
But I love Stu. He's funny. He's Stu. He's great.
He's a great character. Yeah, nothing really else to add. We talked about him when we talked about the reveal, but he's amazing, and Matthew Lillard is incredible. Any other thoughts on Stu that haven't been said?
Most of the best lines in the original Scream are Stu's. He's hilarious. He is one of my favorite characters. A lot of the times I say he's my favorite character, but since I picked the reveal scene, I didn't want to pick him necessarily to diverge it a lot. But I'm glad Matt did, because he deserves to be represented on that board. And yeah, he just is so phenomenal. Talking about the whole fan theory, will Stu come back? I expect it. I expected it in Scream 5. I expected it in Scream 6. And I highly expect it in Scream 7. In fact, I think if Radio Silence doesn't deliver on this, I think they've just been trolling us the entire time, because they nod to it in Scream 5. When you look, Richie's watching the YouTube video, there's one YouTube video clip that says, is Stu still alive? And then they hint at it again in 6. So
that's also the shot that confirmed Kirby was alive, because they showed an interview with her on there. Yeah.
I'm hoping they're not just trolling us, because I would love to see him come back as like the big Ghostface, or I don't know, maybe they could play around with it where he's not a Ghostface at all, or I don't know.
Yeah, maybe the TV gave him amnesia to where he forgot what happened or something.
Well, I was going to talk about this with one of my honorable mentions, but before, so Scream 3 happened after 9/11, or not 9/11, no, Columbine shootings, and so there were some heavy rewrites to it, and the studio got very involved, which is why we got what we got. It was a lot different before. One of the original concept, Kevin Williamson couldn't write this, but he did write a 33-page treatment, which included a cult, a Ghostface cult run by Stu from prison. So that was part of the plan, is that he was already alive, and then they had to redo it because they were like, oh, I don't know about a cult of young people who kill people right after Columbine. So they changed it. So I would say that it does, like, the idea is not, it's not silly, and they have been hinting at it, although I wonder if it's just fan service, but I don't know. But,
All right. So Nerd, any last comments on Stu?
No, I think we covered it. Yeah.
Cool. All right, we're gonna get into the final pick, the Mr. Irrelevant pick. Chad, you do have a what do you have? Cold open left. You have 2 to choose from. Which one are you gonna pick?
Yeah. I just kind of like the thing to where Dylan was like, I have my I have my reveals, and I've stuck with like the last like couple or whatever. So yeah, I'm stuck here with 2 that I actually like both of these. And now I'm still trying to figure out which one to go with, because they're both so interesting. No, I'm stuck, because
you could talk it out, say what you like about both, or don't.
All
like
right,
about
true.
Both.
Yeah.
I was gonna go with Scream 3 with Cotton and his girlfriend, but I think I'm gonna go with Scream 4. Because those are the only 2 left, right?
Yep, those are the 2 left.
Yeah.
And Chad, I'm just telling you right now, you made, I think, the correct choice, because that was my number 2 overall cold open after Scream 2.
Wow.
I don't love either of these. I do like them. But it's one of those things to where like, I love Cotton's scene because he's such an important character in the first two movies, but that's all you needed from Cotton, and then they just like get rid of him in a really cool way. And I just love the whole thing where uh, he comes in and Ghostface has already like manipulated his girlfriend so much that she's fighting him, and like that's why how they both die, and just it's just a bunch of like things like that. But I will say I went with Scream 4 ultimately out of the two because I was just gonna go Scream 3, but then I was like I think if you compare the two, Scream 4 is the more interesting on paper because it is playing a lot with the whole meta ness of playing with stabs and people you're confused a little bit as they're like it's Scream 6 and Scream 7, and it's like what am I watching, another stab right now, or am I watching Scream?
Yeah.
And so how they play around with that I think is really really fun. I love the Kristen Bell Anna Paquin thing. Are you surprised now kind of a deal. It's really fun, and you get Amy Teagarden from Friday Night Lights, which is another show I absolutely adore. So it's great to see her where they're like oh, it's like I'm gonna kill the big breasted dumb girl, and she's like I have a really high IQ actually. I have like a 4.0.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot of really great stuff. They bring in Saw into it. They mentioned Saw 4
Saw 4.
in Scream 4 and Stab something, or I don't even know anymore. I don't know what the hell's going on, but it's
think
really an interesting, different kind of cold open that you're just not really expecting, and then you're like, "What? That was a part of Stab? What? That was a part of Stab?
Yeah.
Okay, this third one Stab." So,
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, it's
Yeah.
really interesting. So.
Yeah, it's like the double misdirect to where the whole film you're like, okay, what is real, what is not? Like, and I like that idea that it kind of like plays with that.
True.
I love this opening. I think it's because no one really talks about 4 the same way they talk about some of the other films. To where like when I started 4, I was watching it and like that cold open just was such like a shock and a revelation that I was like, I love this, and I continue to love it. I think 4 is my second favorite Scream film. Like I really love 4 so much to where like this cold open, I love it so much. So I'm glad it got drafted at all. It was if I didn't get Scream 2, if I didn't get the movie theater, this would have been the next one I picked. Casey Becker's obviously the iconic one, but like this one is just so for me just playful and original that like for me I like it a lot. Yeah, it's a great pick.
I appreciate this opening for like the Scream meta-ness of it all, but it breaks my brain a little bit because of the logic of it, because in Scream we have Stab, that like they have Stab as their counterpart movie, but the implication of the 3 things chained in a row is that it's like the one is the opening for the previous movie, and then the next is the opening for the previous movie, but they're referencing the previous Stab movie within the future Stab movie, like, and then they're all referencing Stab instead of like another whatever their version of Stab would be, if that makes sense. So like they should have like, I don't know,
You're good, Chad. You're good.
like some other version of title for a movie franchise that's not Stab, but like the same thing that's a riff off Stab.
Mhm.
So that would be fun if they actually did that. But I feel like
Stabception.
I agree. I agree. That is one. There's two things that kind of that put this down a little bit further for me. Number one is it's confusing as to if Stab 6 only exists as the beginning of Stab 7, or if they just played the beginning of the first movie or the previous movie at the beginning of the 7th movie.
right.
It's unclear to me, and it bothers me that it's even possible that Stab 6 is only the beginning of Stab 7, and that there aren't actually 7 movies. That bugs me for it more than it should bother a rational person. I agree. If they had called it something else, like I would have dug that a lot more. And so I don't know. That opening doesn't completely work for me. I like how the Kristen Bell and a Paquin part. Like I dig that they got them, and how they had a double fake out. The other thing that puts it down a little bit further for me is not really the movie's fault, the cold open's fault, as much as there's an alternate version of it that they shot where they die in the reverse order, but it actually works a lot better in the scene. And you guys should check it out because I like it a lot better. But they had to change it because they had to make it seem like the girl who was sleeping with Trevor is the one that they were actually after. So that's why they had to switch it. They had to change it. But
yeah, I haven't thought too much on the logic. So maybe if I do, I will like it less. But for now, it's one of my favorites. I love it.
Oh, it's fun. It's good. I love all these movies.
Fun.
So any bad I say is it's
yeah. Mr. Cinema Sins trying to dissect it. No, I'm kidding. No, it's fair.
No,
I'm kidding.
I
I'll
complimented
keep my
it
mouth
first.
shut
It's just-
then. Thanks.
It's one of those. I mean, in that Scream 4 opening, there was a similar moment where there's a character like questioning the interior logic of the stab movies.
To be fair, Richie
sort of-
does say that the movies go off the rail at 5. Off the rails
Yeah.
at 5.
So there you have it. Kerri, any last thoughts on Scream 4's cold open?
I mean, everyone said most of what's to be said. It's really fun. There are a lot of great cameos in it.
Yeah.
And Elliot, what do you think
And
about
it doesn't make
the cold
So
open of Scream?
this means Elliot gets all of Scream 3 since Scream 3 wasn't drafted once in our draft. So if you like Scream 3, you can vote for Elliot because he has a representation for that.
Yeah.
And he's
I love
waving.
Scream 3.
Oh, so cute.
Can we give like some honorable mentions for
course,
Hills?
yeah.
For
So
or
yeah,
Want to
whatever.
go in order?
let me recap our draft boards one last time, and then you guys can go vote. As soon as this is airing, you'll be able to go vote on the Facebook page, the Dyl Pickle Movie Network on Facebook, and you'll be able to vote for who you thought had the best draft today. The draft boards are Dyl, Scream 2 Cold Open, Sidney Prescott, Tara Carpenter, Amber Freeman's death, and the Scream 6 reveal. Kerri has the Scream Cold Open, has Mrs. Loomis and Mickey's reveal, Gail Weathers, Sam Carpenter, and Jill Roberts' death. Nerd has Dewey Riley, Jill and Charlie's reveal, Scream 6 Cold Open, the car scene death, and Richie Kirsch. Matt has the Scream 5 Cold Open, Mindy, Richie and Amber's reveal, Cece's death, and Stu. Chad has Stu and Billy's reveal, Randy, Amber, and Tatum Riley's death, as well as the Scream 4 Cold Open. Those are the draft boards. Very strong. They'll be a little bit easier to read on the actual visual because I know a lot of it bleeds over, especially with two movies having the same title or whatever. But yeah, let's go honorable mentions. Obviously, there's only one more reveal and one more Cold Open, both from Scream 3. We kind of talked about those. Let's talk about deaths. Any other?
No,
Yes,
I do have an honorable mention for reveal. Talk about and it's not the one we got in Scream 3. It's the one we
Scream
didn't
6.
get in no.
Oh.
The Ghostface reveal? Did you pick Roman?
What?
You picked Roman?
No, I picked
No one
the
did.
Ghostface reveal.
No, I picked Scream 6, the group of them.
Okay, and I said it's not the one we didn't talk about, which was Scream 3. It's the
gotcha.
one we didn't get from Scream 3, which was the reveal of Angelina and Roman being the Ghostface. That was because, like I said, they had to rewrite a bunch of it, and it was heavily censored. So they cut a bunch of the things, but they were rewriting it as they were making it. So they left in most of the stuff that Angelina, which was the girl who played Sydney in the Stab 3. So they left most of the stuff in that Angelina had done in the film, but didn't reveal her as the Ghostface at the end. And the only way that movie makes any logical sense, and I'm not even talking Scream logic, I'm talking any sense at all, is if there is a second Ghostface and Roman just killed her and never revealed that he had a partner. And that's the headcanon I choose to go with. So I believe that Angelina was a Ghostface. I will always believe that Angelina was a Ghostface because it physically doesn't make sense if she wasn't. And So that's my honorable mention for Ghostface reveal. The one
And
we
I would have
didn't
vetoed
get.
it, so I'm glad you didn't pick it.
I have it. I have it literally written as my sixth
No,
one.
I
It
know.
says
I'm just
honorable
kidding. I'm
mention.
kidding.
I
I'm
just
kidding.
wanted to have a good
I'm
conversation.
kidding.
But
Um,
Dylan doesn't like me today for some
No,
reason.
no. I know. I love it. I just haven't seen Scream 3 more than once, so like I have nothing to add. But it's a great
I've seen them
idea.
all. A lot of them, so
Good for you. We're gonna go with the deaths now for honorable mentions. Mess with you, Matt.
Yeah, I'll see you guys later.
No, Matt. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, Matt. I'll let you start with death honorable mentions. Any death honorable mentions that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I have a lot. Dewey's death. I really like I really like the scene. A lot of people complain about it because they're like, Amber could never lift him, but Amber doesn't need to lift him. They show his feet. He's getting on his tippy toes when she's doing it, because that's what happens when someone's raising a knife inside you, is that you're going to try to release that pressure a little bit by going up higher. He was just standing on his tippy toes. I love that scene because I love that kill because it felt fitting for Dewey, because he's always trying to be brave. In every movie, he gets sliced and diced, and he becomes a pincushion. And this is finally the one he could not, because he is trying to. He forgot his own rules, and he turns around to go finish the job and gets it. And when Ghostface kills him and says it was an honor, and especially once you realize why they did this, because they love those characters and that story so much, that when he says it's an honor, it's actually a really great moment. It gives me like feelings, even though it's bad because Dewey just died and we're sad. But
right.
Yeah, Dewey's death. I will say that Liv dying, and I had alluded to this earlier. Liv being killed as Amber is revealing that she's Ghostface. Gun deaths are not nearly as fun in this franchise, but that's one of the gun deaths that I really love because it is the reveal that Amber just pulls out the gun and shoots her. And while she's in the middle of talking, like while they're in the middle of talking, she's having a freak out. I really love that. And the other one I want to mention, I have Olivia written down, but I don't remember who that is.
Scream 4, the bedroom scene.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Because it happens from across the thing. And knowing that Jill is orchestrating that from the bedroom, like it's incredible. It's incredible. The question is, who is actually on the phone with them, because Jill is right there and he is in the closet. So we don't know that. That's weird, but that's Scream logic. Liv, I said Liv. Wes, the knife going through, Wes. Like slowly going through his neck is so good. But the one I really want to talk about is Annika on the ladder. That whole scene I mentioned earlier that the whoever I don't remember who picked
cartoon.
Yes, the tense scene. That there was another scene that's just as tense or maybe more tense. The most tense scene in that movie for me, and it really only worked the first time because when I was rewatching it, knowing what the truth is, it's not nearly as tense. But that whole apartment scene, followed by the ladder scene, is so freaking tense when you're first watching it. Once you know what happens, and you wonder. Next time you guys watch Scream 6, and after you've watched it, text me and let me know whose benefit Ghostface standing behind the daughter who fake dies is. Whose benefit is that? Yes, the guy across the street sees it, but that's not their intention. That was an accident. That's why they have to hurry up and finish the thing. And she's on the phone pretending to talk to somebody, I guess, about how, oh my gosh, there's a killer on the loose. I don't know whose benefit that whole scene is for, because they're both killers in that room. The only two people in that room are killers. Sorry. But so it's less tense now. But I really like that scene, and that scene is really tense. And then when she has to die, when she dies off of the thing, it's a very good scene, and I really love it. So
I was say, Matt, have you seen the movie Nerve with Emma Roberts? Ironically,
no.
Yeah, there's a scene like that where she's like on a, you know what I'm talking about, Nerd, with the ladder, and she has heels on. It's so tense. I think you'd love that movie, Matt, because it takes a great Scream villain in Emma Roberts and puts her in a moment of peril like that. This one's even more intense though, the way it's shot.
That's a good
so
movie.
Good. Yeah, Nerd, what were your honorable mentions for death?
So one of the ones was the Scream 4. I didn't say your closet scene.
Yeah, so good.
That line is really good. The 30-second delay kill
Oh,
in Scream
Kenny.
1. Just like he basically says, "Oh, it's on a 30-second delay," and like a second later, he turns around and gets got. That's awesome. Scream 3, we've been kind of dunking on, but there's actually some really fun like deaths and kills in the movie. They're definitely goofier, like B-movie style kills than probably the rest of the franchise, but I really love the house explosion. It's kind of super stupid, but I just like the house exploding and that being one of them. I like the two-way mirror inside the house with what's her name? Darn.
Pansy Parkinson.
Yeah. But I also what I love about that scene is that they
That's a
shoot
Harry
out
Potter character.
they shoot out every single
Parker
window
Posey.
until the final one. Like but
That's what
they're
I said. A
behind.
Harry
Yeah,
Potter
Parker Posey.
character. didn't I? Parker Posey.
Yep.
Yeah, Parker Posey.
You said Harry Potter character, yeah.
But that's just a really fun. That's a really well played out scene, and it gets goofy. And then also in Scream 3, it's not a very eventful death, but the guy who gets stabbed and then thrown off the balcony next to the pool, but the thing that makes that kill is he just missed the pool. Because when you go back later, he's like 2 feet away from landing in the pool, and it's just like, oh man, that guy was so close to making it. So those are my honorable mentions.
The 30-second delay is really great, and I often think about that one. But that character's name is Kenny, and if this had been made a year or two later, somebody definitely would have said, "Oh my God, you killed Kenny." But unfortunately, this was the year before South Park, so or fortunately, I guess we should say,
yeah, maybe they did it in stab or something. Chad, what are your honorable mentions for deaths that we haven't mentioned yet?
My list, I had like a lot of the like cold open one. I had like Casey Becker, Maureen Evans, Cece Cooper, Tatum. Of course, I said Tatum. Laura Crane. I love Samara Weaving's death in the movie. Was pretty incredible. You guys mentioned like a ton of like really great ones, like Kenny. Dewey, I didn't pick just because Matt said it exactly. I do think it's a fitting end, but I don't like that it has to end. So I'm like, I love it and I hate it at the same time. So many great ones. I'm not like a kills person where I go like making a list of kills. So it's harder for me, but
Yeah, no, you all said the ones I had as well. I mean, Matt, you hit the nail on the head with the Dewey thing. It's been a pleasure or whatever like that. That's such a good moment, but a sad moment to where I, like you, Chad, took it off because I was like, I can't say it's one of my favorites. And then the one I had that no one brought up was Rebecca Walters. That's what's her name?
Ooh, Allison Brie.
Yeah, Allison Brie in the parking lot, and when she's thrown on the car, it's so good. Scream 4 is so underrated. I love Scream 4 so
that one. She's stabbed once in the stomach though, and after a bunch of the other kills that we have, she's thrown off the roof, but she's the idea is that she's died from one stab. I don't know.
Maybe that knife was a little duller, I guess, or sharper. I guess the other knives were duller. I don't know. Logic.
Meanwhile, there's also stabbed 20 times and survives. So
there's also some magic speed. Whichever one that was, which I'm not sure which Ghostface it was, but whichever one that was did some magic by showing up like right where she was when we had just seen a shot where they weren't there. It's again, this is Scream logic, and I love it.
Those cold guns are magical. Did you see what that kid did at the Home Alone? All right, we're any other legacy characters or new characters we can just rattle off. I mean, go ahead, Matt.
Sorry if you have something. I just want to say for new character, Chad is obviously the one that got left off. I thought he was fine. I liked him in the first one. He really became a good character that I love in the second one, to the point where I would not have cared if he died in the first one, but in the second one, I was glad that that was the one fake out I was glad
I called him
happened, other than Mindy and Chad. In fact, I'm to the point where I'm like, if they kill Mindy and Chad, we riot. Like,
right.
yeah.
Justice for Randy. Yeah, the other one I had also for new characters was Wes. I know he's short-lived, but I love how it's like an homage to Wes Craven, and it's just a sad scene. I feel bad for him, and the actor is great. It's I wish he had lived longer, but that's it. I mean, all legacy characters were said. Nerd, any other characters, legacy or new that you had?
No,
No one picked Billy Loomis.
that was it.
Billy too, yeah, and Billy's legacy is long lasting. That's for sure.
I mean,
Chad, any other?
so Kirby, I guess, is
Yeah,
the one
Kirby
we
as well.
didn't talk about,
Mm,
but Kirby
yeah.
is good.
Yeah, Chad, any
She's in
more
between.
characters?
Yeah. I didn't really count anybody from the first 4 films when I was thinking about it, but I mean, the only one that hasn't really been mentioned. I mean, he has been mentioned, but not as like potentially being picked was Sam's boyfriend in Scream 6. Like, I hope he returns in 7.
Oh yeah,
because
Oh, yeah, he was good.
yeah, Pug.
It's a really
for
cool
Shield.
character.
But good, yeah.
He was a good red herring, and then I'm like, I'm glad he wasn't because I like him.
I think I agree. I liked him a lot. I think he was a bad red herring. I don't think at any point,
Yeah.
at least for me, I don't think they made us believe it was him at any point, especially because immediately after we meet him, he's freaking out about Ghostface being in that girl's room. However, we do know that was happening for the benefit of no one. So him reacting to it could have also been happening for the benefit of no one. So who knows?
Hey, I think this is a really fun discussion. We all had some great picks. I can't wait to see how the poll goes because I think they're all really good. Really quickly, where can they all find y'all? Chad and Kerri. I don't know if Kerri's still around, but Chad, where can they find you guys?
Yeah, Kerri had to dip, take care of a little baby. Yeah, check out my channel, Chadwick Webb, where we rank stuff. We haven't done anything since I had a child, but we have some episodes in the works. We'll drop some new rankings. I'm itching to rank some stuff, so we got to do that soon. Check out over at the Nerd Entertainment Network. Welcome to Prime Time. It's me, my wife Kerri, and my buddy Hunter. We talk about horror. We just did like the whole Chainsaw Awards Fangoria over on Shudder. We watched that in a live stream. Before that, we predicted who we thought would win, and we're pleasantly surprised with a lot of the results. We also rank a lot of Buffy stuff because Kerri and I are big kind of veteran Buffy fans, and Hunter's a new, just watching it now kind of a fan. So it's just really fun to see his takes versus our takes. For the new and the old fan. And so we just go and rank a lot of the episodes in each of the seasons. We're currently season 5. So, but yeah, that's a lot of fun. And then check out Picture This. I talk about it a lot. We do Oscar stuff. So there you go.
Yep. The new episode's coming out either tonight or tomorrow. Like I'm almost done editing it. It was a big one. It was 9 films, so we're almost done with that. What just did drop yesterday actually was an episode of Framewreck, a Sharknado episode. Matt, where else can they find you? I kind of already told them, but
You just said it.
sorry.
You can't give me crap about the stuff I revealed early in this episode because you just did it as well. No. You can find me right here on the Dyl Pickle Movie Network on Framewreck, where we talk about bad movies. As he said, we just dropped Sharknado, and it was a lot of fun to discuss. And you can find me here basically anytime he will let me on the channel. You can find me on the internet, on Twitter and Letterboxd at MattmanXIII. That's 13 in Roman numerals.
Nice. And Nerd, first time draft day guest. Thank you for joining. Would you want to be on another draft again? And where can they find you?
Definitely would do another draft. So whenever you want me, then and shoot me an invite. But you can find me at Commentatoring Nerd and Twitter and Letterboxd. I am obsessed with Letterboxd and write lots of reviews and make lots of lists and try to share them on Twitter. I've been doing monthly movie projects lately, and right now I'm doing Macho Movie Mayhem, emphasis on May, where I'm basically going back and watching I call them real regrets to remedy of basically movies I haven't seen from a certain genre, but in this case it's like action movies from the 80s and 90s, like the Arnold and Sly and Jean-Claude Van Damme, like all those movies that I haven't seen a bunch of. I just kind of bunched them all together for a monthly project, and it's been really fun. So I have like a Twitter thread where I kind of share my reviews for that. So if you
Awesome.
are interested, check out my Twitter so you can see what movies I'm watching and what I think about them. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And thank you so much for joining for the first time. Thank you, Matt, for helping organize that as well, getting Nerd on the show. And thank you, as always, Matt, for just bringing your expertise. I mean, all those behind the scenes things I did not know about Scream that now I feel so much more richened and acknowledged for. And Chad and Kerri, of course, for bringing Elliot to the show and introducing him and making him an already instant Scream or Dyl Pickle Movie Network fan favorite, and of course all your expertise as well. And we'll see you next month for 2 drafts. I promise you, 2 drafts coming next month to make up for lost time, including one celebrating Pride Month and one celebrating the kickoff to the blockbuster summer movie season. I'll let you know what those are when they come. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time.